All systems nominal.
それでは早速全速前進
You don't know what the weak point of a mech is? The fucking pilot.
Get away from her, you bitch!
His papers say he was a raven.
Protocol 3.
A pattern blue!
Welcome to On the Shoulders of Giants, a giant robot power hour discussing mechs across media, their stories, and why we love them. I'm Brian, and I am joined by Alice.
That girl always keeps you waiting, huh?
And Nico.
To control the release of podcasts, the UN has deployed ID lock on microphones.
This time around, we come to our penultimate installment of the Metal Year, a game that bravely posits that family can be two old men fist-fighting over drugs. Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots. Let's launch into it. This is kind of the big one. So I kind of hinted to this already, I think a couple times, but in terms of like the things that this podcast is interested in, this game is why I wanted to do this project. I'm excited to do Metal Gear Solid 5, but that game, that like we've had a lot of conversation about like almost not mech media, and that's going to be one of those, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas this is a mecha video game. I don't care what anyone fucking says. So there's that. This was produced in 2008. So this something I learned, or I guess we all already knew but didn't quite click for me, is that these games actually came out like pretty timely, like after the last one.
Huh.
It doesn't feel like it because 5 was so spread out, but like they were on a consistent development cycle with Metal Gear.
Well, and it's weird because Metal Gear Solid 3 was 2004. And this is something we've talked about too, which is that Hideo Kojima like didn't want to make another one after that. Like that was supposed to be the end, which like I've said that in my opinion that's kind of bullshit. I find that the end of Metal Gear Solid 3 is inadvertently or not writing a check. So like I don't know why you would end there personally. But anyway, this was produced in 2008. This was kind of produced just I don't know. I think my understanding of the process is that fans were like absolutely rabid for it because of the way that the series had ended with so many open questions. And so Konami kind of strong-armed Kojima into doing it again. Now, one thing about this that is kind of shitty is that Kojima wasn't originally going to write this one. I'm trying to dig up the name. I know it's in my notes, but there's another person who actually co-wrote 3 and did some other work on the Metal Gear project that was supposed to like head writing this project, and his name is Shuyo Murata. He did still end up being like on the project like in a huge way, but when Kojima's name wasn't on the writing credit, fandom happened. Like, I think in 2024, we all kind of know what that means.
Yeah.
But in 2008, I think it's exceptionally poor taste for people to be doing this shit online with the response to that. And then again, too, also by Konami or Kojima even, I don't know exactly how this worked out, but to, like, capitulate to that and sign back onto the project, I'm like, I don't know that I would have given people what they wanted in that situation. But anyway, I guess that's in the past and a different, and that's not what ended up happening, so whatever. But yeah, otherwise, this is a video game, isn't it?
One of the video games of all time.
One of the video games of all time.
I would agree.
So Metal Gear Solid 4 like led the forefront in a new generation of online gaming, it was the, like, a lot of people say that the PlayStation 3 was the console made to play Metal Gear Solid 4.
It's certainly the console you can play Metal Gear Solid 4 on.
It is certainly the console exclusively. Yeah, I've kind of tweeted about this, but the lengths that had to be gone through for me to get my hands on this game were pretty outrageous. We are firm Konami haters. Can that be an official stance of this podcast? If it isn't already.
I think it is. I think episode 1, that was the official stance, so.
Yeah, I mean.
After what they did to Silent Hill, I'm ready to sign off.
Yeah, I mean, you know, not that we endorse the misappropriation of ripped game files using the internet. You shouldn't do that on on the internet or something. But Metal Gear Solid 4 is essentially abandonware. Like, that's just another thing about it that's like really unfortunate. Because I do think, again,
locked by the SOP.
It's ID locked by the SOP. Yeah. In terms of just like I said, the graphical capability of the generation was like set by this game. We have things like persistent character models between cutscenes and gameplay, which is something that we actually talked about in the last game, I think. But that's like, there's a bunch of stuff. Again, this game is going to showcase the potential of that technology and also do like a really fun thing with it, which is not something that I think a lot of titles that would inherit these technologies end up doing. A lot of the time it just kind of feels like a dead end gimmick, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It felt like this was during the time when like technology was making such leaps and bounds. Like this is before Real Trees, our favorite game company that makes real trees for video games.
Oh, you mean Speed Tree?
There's Real Trees too, I swear. I see them outside all the time.
I've just only heard of Speed Tree, so.
No, it's Speed Tree. But like, I always think of 2004 when MGS3 came out was also when Half-Life 2 came out. And that was when, oh my God, physics in gaming. And this feels like the PS3 and the Xbox, whatever it was at the time, 360, right?
Yeah, 360.
Like, oh, we finally have processing power. What can we do with games? And yeah, I think especially with the textures, goddamn,
the textures,
they do some fun stuff.
The technological kind of accomplishment of having the sequence where you are split screen with Raiden and Vamp fighting, and then the ability for the game to sweep and make the cutscene the biggest thing on the screen, and all of the mission briefings are, I think, huge like accomplishments in the processing power of what had happened in that generation.
Yeah.
Now I feel like this to me, I think, Nico, you made a comment about how like there's a certain point where the like joy brought from a new capability of video games was kind of diminished because the difference is just it's diminishing returns. I think this was the kind of cap of that to me.
I complain about this a lot, but I also don't think it's a unique complaint. Just, you know, technology has reached a point where it's like, it's hard to imagine what the next big leap will be if it will not be a lateral leap into like a new technology. And I think a lot of people have tried to seize that with like VR and AR, and like they're trying to find like the next big leap.
Yeah.
And I don't think we found it yet. I think right now it's just mostly been graphical improvements, which I could take or leave. Cause like,
I
honestly,
agree with that.
This game, it just looks good. Like, I mean, some people are shiny, but I was looking, you know, when I was watching this game, this is fine. Like, I'm good.
It's
here,
honestly a gorgeous video game even now.
Yeah.
I think it holds up very well in the fact that like the hyper realism of gaming has kind of got it into that uncanny realm. And I feel like this is like the perfect level of there's depth in the polygons in their faces, in their facial motions, in the mocap, but it's not crazy.
And I'm sitting here like, if we're gonna throw shitloads of money at video games, I would rather it be on mechanics and writing than the modeling.
Speaking of which, Metal Gear Solid 4 cost somewhere around $60 million to make.
Oh, good Christ.
That's
I can't think about that too hard or I'll get depressed.
But another thing too, we have to lay it out. RIP Metal Gear Online. That shit was genuinely one of the funner multiplayer online video games.
Rip.
You basically played Metal Gear in a big like a map from the video game, and there were a bunch of different. It was like Call of Duty kind of, but with espionage elements and Metal Gear controls, and it had really fun stuff going on. Like if you played as one of the Liquid Ocelot PMCs in that game. And like it's like a Call of Duty style game, right? So it's timed, and the timer went down to 0. Liquid would hack SOP and manually add a minute to the clock to give his team an extra chance to come back and win. It had a bunch of really fun stuff like that.
Yeah, just like it was banger.
So it's just really good. But other than that, you know, it is. I mentioned like this marks a turn in the way these games feel, but on an essential level, it is the same control system and the same kind of thing that you're doing. I think the biggest difference is just the way that you are now sneaking around like active battlefields with multiple moving elements instead of just like a obstacle course. is like one of the biggest things. And then the other thing is that you get so many guns and so much ammo and so much money in this game that you can actually just run around just absolutely being a one-man army and annihilating people.
It can be an action movie.
I don't prefer to do that, but you absolutely can do that. So that's kind of like the lowdown on like its environment and its context. I will say actually one more thing, which is just that I think that this is also where we start to get the collapse of games journalism, because this is one of like the most famous examples of review limitations. So reviewers were not allowed to talk about cutscene length or install times.
Yeah, so the major features of this game, other than just women.
That leads me into the length of the media. My playthrough was about 12 hours. Given that there are 7.5 hours of cutscenes in this game, I would estimate that I actually played a video game for about 4 hours.
Yeah, that feels right. I watched the Chip and Ironicus playthrough. It was recommended to me as the best LP to watch for this. And yeah, it's every time the video would change and there'd just be a little pop-up at the bottom of the screen, it would say cutscene continues to end of video. Cutscene, all video is cutscene. Like, I'd just be like, oh my God.
One of the things that kind of, if I recall this correctly, became a meme at the time, if it didn't, it should have, was at the very beginning of the game, like about, I don't know, like a 9 to 10 minute cutscene plays, and then you crawl under a truck, and then another 7-minute cutscene plays. It's so funny.
Crawl under one truck, and it cuts to the next cutscene.
So that's actually the number one criticism leveled at this game, which is just the fact that it is essentially an interactive movie.
Plus the loadings, the install screens. If you played this when it was originally coming out, like, it's literally 15 minutes of Snake smoking while it installs to your PS3 hard drive.
Yeah. And it does, and it has to do that at the end of every act too.
5 times in this game you have to go through that.
For comparatively little video game.
Which, and you know, all of that stuff is like kind of, I was at the time, and honestly still am, kind of okay with all that stuff. I cannot believe the criticisms leveled at this game have not been about several other things that I was like.
I think it was 2008.
Yeah, it was 2008. That's definitely true.
All I can compartmentalize some of my feelings about this.
But we will level those criticisms.
We will level those criticisms, and I think that we all know that it was a different time thing is not sufficient, but I also am just kind of like laid out by the fact that we are able to say that about a game about
from
this
2008,
game.
2008, not like something from the 1920s.
Exactly. Anyway, do you guys have anything else before I give the synopsis, or?
I feel like I need to upfront state this. I'm going to have comments during this episode that might be considered problematic in a 2024 mindset, and I want to own that, and I want to sit in it, and I want to be aware of it. I'm still going to say those things.
Hey, stand in your truth. You know what?
So I'm sorry to everyone.
Are you particularly sorry to any one gender, maybe?
But that's it. I just want to get that out up front because I'm going to talk about it in a way that might put things in what I think is I enjoyed it, but I can understand why no one should enjoy it.
I'm so glad we have you here, so it's not just Debbie Downer podcast.
Yeah.
Hideo Kojima does a thing to me in these games lately that I've noticed, which is way earlier than you'd expect. I would say maybe like a fifth of the way into the game. He does something to me which is so painful and so personally against my ethics, morals, and like specific concerns that it harms me on a psychic level. That I write a sentence like, I do not respect this man as a person. And then the video game keeps going. And by the end of it, so much other shit has happened in the video game that I've become numb to my own sense of betrayal. And at the end, I'm just like, okay, yeah, that happened. And never has a game made me experience that phenomenon more than Metal Gear Solid 4.
I will say, so like, this is one of the important video games of my life. But when you were a kid and like Lunchables nachos were like the best thing on earth, and like you longed for the day you got Lunchables nachos, and then like even at 18 or 19 you tried Lunchables nachos and you're like, hey, real quick, these are dog shit.
Are these even chips? Is this fucking salsa? What the fuck is this?
I'm gonna present just that anecdote, and that's the only thing I'm gonna say about my context of this game before I give the synopsis. So anyway, here we go. It is 5 years after Arsenal Gear beached in Manhattan. The Patriots have, through the eponymous AT systems, created the Sons of the Patriots control system. This dystopic battlefield monitoring system has become the gateway to the world's newest cold casual business, warfare. Divorced from context, the Sons of the Patriots ID system is a private military corporation's gateway to the battlefield. With the world economy stabilized only by conflict, the Patriots have effectively placed a vice grip on the control of money and information in the world, holding the biometrics of nearly every living person over their heads as they operate. Anyway, Snake is old due to Star Wars-esque plot contrivance. Liquid, having completely taken over Ocelot's body, has used the war economy to amass assets and enslave traumatized women in a bid against the Patriots, who are quickly, learn our AIs. That's just it. That's all that's going on there. His methodology in doing this will leave a swath of corpses across the world, and it will pointedly not do anything about the war economy. So Old Snake must once again don the headband to stop his brother and the Patriots before humanity cannibalizes itself. On his cross-globe trek, he will co-parent with his husband Otacon, find out he is a walking bioweapon, meet his makers, return to Shadow Moses, and literally punch Liquid out of Ocelot. In the end, there is a glimmer of hope as the war economy buckles and the Patriots go offline for good. Snake has an exchange with an old enemy in front of his grave, and we leave him one last time with the same message as the first: live and spend what little time you have left being in love with Otacon. The end. We will take a break now, and then when we come back, things will unfold on the podcast.
That's a nice way to put it.
Hey, Nico here in the break. Just wanted to let you know that while this is a podcast, and we'll always do our best to describe visuals we're commenting on, we'll also include links to the mechs and images we discuss in the show notes, and post actual photos on our show website. Along with that, make sure to check the show notes for content warnings as appropriate to the episode. That's all for now. Back to the show.
The first thing I actually want to do is go to Alice, because Alice told us like a week ago that she thinks this is the greatest video game opening of all time. So I want you to talk about this.
Okay, here's why this is the greatest video game opening of all time. And this kind of ties into my theory of what I think Hideo Kojima wanted to do with this game, which is tell all of his fans, hey, get over it. Those games already happened. Move on with your life, you autists. So the game starts with a banger soundtrack of a two-string guitar. Snake with the banger line, "War has changed."
David Hayter and Ron Perlman are fist fighting in a parking lot during this period of video games.
But it's him driving into his city with these rebels, and when this game came out was 2008. For the record, we were in our 7th year of Afghanistan, of which we would be in Afghanistan until 2021. So the concept of the forever proxy war was really on the forefront of people's minds, and that's what it is. It's a proxy war. You notice by the tech and everything that it's like what a person's vision of the future of warfare would be. Yeah. And so Snake drives up in the truck. He has a whole monologue about how war has changed because there are ID-tagged soldiers with ID-tagged weapons shooting targets with their metrics and their biometric data, controlling their flow of endorphins so that they can be good soldiers and they know where everyone is. And so anybody who is outside of the SOP system, which is all the PMCs that you're fighting, is a nobody, basically. You're basically working with the Mujahideen again. And so you drive in, and he does this whole thing. People are getting gunned down. They have no tactics. Everybody's terrible at this. Yeah. You should not be that close quarters combat. And it's just this whole, beautiful, something that this game does great is none of the areas are a specific city. This is just the Middle East. And it looks like the Middle East. The sun has the filter, everything, right?
I have to say, I don't know that I would say that it's great. I think that it is very convenient and maybe smart to do in the political context of this game. I don't know that I find it very, compelling or sufficient in painting a picture of the world.
Love it.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's like when you go to America, you go to Alaska, specifically the Fox Archipelago, specifically Shadow Moses Island. When you go to, say, South America, you just go to South America.
When you go to Europe, you go to Europe.
When you go to Europe, you go to 1940s France, but...
I love the saboteur. Okay, but you drive in, Snake does his cool ass, I'm smoking, I'm clearing weapons, I'm doing tactical bullshit. You finally get in control, and you feel like, oh, this is a modern ass video game. Like, he can stick to cover, he can move, and he can crawl. You crawl under a trailer, bam, another 7-minute cutscene that tells you about the greatest thing this game added, the Gekko.
Okay, yeah, agree. Why do they moo? I don't know, and I don't care.
But this whole segment, it goes on for a while before it cuts back to the framing device of you just going through this city, and it puts you in this world and perfectly encapsulates all the mechanics you're going to be using, your camo, your sneaking, how to deal with weapons, how different weapons work, dropping, helping the rebels, and how NPCs actually move and think in this one versus the past before. And there are 2 factions that you can make both mad at you if you're like me. But it's just like a perfect encapsulation of, it teaches you all the mechanics. It teaches you exactly where the world is at, which is there's just war all the time. I just love it. It's a perfect intro.
I do think this game is strongest in its first 4 hours, honestly. And I hate to say this, before all the Metal Gear shit starts happening.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I feel like there was a really strong vision at the start for kind of its concerns and its framing devices and how it would play out. And then a lot of this stuff falls out, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, so for me at Canyons, I was really, really in for the first couple hours of this game, and then things started happening. There's my experience of it was there was this weird maybe 4 or 5 hour haze of just nonstop fucking misogyny that I came out of just kind of was I just in a fugue state? I'm so furious right now. And then it by the end I was we're back. I'm back.
Yeah. you know that chart that's it's so over, we're so back, whatever. That was me this whole game.
Yes.
I mean, can we say it right now? This game is 4 games, and one of those games could have been cut.
Yeah.
But also that game is my favorite.
Can you
part
speak
of it.
more on that?
So there's the tactical shooter segment that you're going around, you're doing cool, the best Metal Gear gameplay in my experience, besides 5. But
so
5
it feels great to play the game.
Great to play. So there's the tactical shooter. There's Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots, which is whatever Liquid is doing in every scene he's in. There's Metal Gear Rising, Revengeance comes in there too. And then there's the Beauty and the Beast game, which that's the one that I love the most, but could have been cut. And I feel like you feel it when it's coming because I think that's might be where people's canyons are.
Oh yeah. That was my point. Hey, everyone, preview. That's when I had a fucking breakdown.
Anyway,
I went and got sake.
I don't want us to hold up so much on the front end of this, but yeah, I just love the intro.
No, I thought it was really cool. Like I said, there was a lot of cool, fun stuff. You're running around with the Mark II, which I love, which is Otacon's little robot. You run into him and he brings you stuff.
You want to talk about your little guy?
The Mark II and the Mark III are mechs. We have our first tiny mech. They are mechs.
Yep.
I love them so much. It is so cute. It is based on a video game character called Snatcher, which is one of Hideo Kojima's first video games he made. Was just about this little robot, little NES, I think, game. And it's a very cute little guy, and Otacon pilots it, and he is very cute piloting it. It's great.
It has a little screen that Otacon always shows up on, so it's like he's there with you.
It's so cute. The mannerisms of the robot are so cute.
But also the redemption for Otacon, who was so mad that Metal Gear Rex got taken by the military for bad shit, and he's like, the Mark II is just a cool little guy.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. He was like, fuck you guys. I'm going to make the cool little sci-fi guy that I wanted to make when I was.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have my daughter do it with me as a bonding activity. Okay.
Oh yeah, a very important character we need to talk about up front because she is also kind of a framing device is Sunny Grlukovich, who you only really find out the surname part of it later in the story. But there's a little girl on their mobile base, and
she's everything to me.
Really feels like Snake and Otacon's daughter.
Yeah. So a couple things about Sunny. It's weird how the game kind of half attempts to obfuscate who she is because, one, you can see a framed picture of Olga in the kitchen. So it becomes kind of obvious very quickly. And then 2, I remember this so specifically because it made my organs jump out of my body. When they did the first trailer for Metal Gear Solid 4, they included the footage of Sunny saying her name was Olga, my mother, in the trailer. And I was like ascending to heaven when I saw the trailer. So I remember specifically that happening. I was like, why make it weird?
Why are they trying to pretend? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, she ends up being a framing device. She lives on your little mobile carrier where you get your briefings. She makes eggs. And everyone is so disrespectful about her eggs.
So dicks. Were the eggs CGI or was that real footage? Go. Nico, this one's for you. Me and Brian know the answer.
$60 million, $40 million was doing live capture of eggs and then giving it a digital filter so it looked like... No, I'm second guessing myself. $40 million was spent perfecting egg physics, which has never been used again in video games. Okay, what is the truth?
Alice?
The truth is in between.
God! I fucking hate you.
I knew you were gonna fucking do that.
The eggs look too fucking real. It's insane. The first time Sunny cracks an egg into a skillet, I was like, what the hell are we doing?
Anyway, she calls it her fortune telling and she gradually gets better at it. And then they have one of the greatest lines in video games of all time later on about the eggs. So we have to talk about that.
Hey, I have a question.
Yeah.
How are they getting eggs on their mobile fortress?
Oh, they have chickens.
The chicken's solid and liquid.
Yeah.
Oh, there's also a Solidus.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, she comments that Solidus wasn't laying eggs.
Oh my God.
I wondered what the fuck that was about.
Anyway,
what's
the other
killing me? No,
what's
I'm
up?
sorry. Real quick on the eggs. You know what's killing me?
Yeah.
No seasoning.
No seasoning.
Not a damn salt or a damn pepper.
This is what I was saying. I was like yelling at Kyle about this. I was like, those eggs literally look fine. She just needs like some salt and pepper, and for me, some basil.
Yeah.
That's all you need on your eggs. Like, maybe a little hot sauce. Like, what are you doing?
Also, I feel like Snake would be a Tabasco man. You don't even have to season those eggs. Just bring him Tabasco with his cigarette and his eggs.
It's in one of his pouches. He's got a little mini Tabasco in one of his pouches. There's a terrible movie called The Accountant in which an autistic Brad Pitt makes eggs, 3 eggs at a time, and that's it. And he has no seasoning, and he eats them in his blank kitchen. And that's all I can think about Sunny.
Hey, that thing that happens in like the third act with the eggs where they like merge into one yolk, can that happen to eggs?
Yes.
I did not know that. Whoa, that kind of blew my mind.
Did you realize that every egg cutscene is a metaphor for what happens in the act?
I did realize that, yes.
I'm just saying this to hurt Nico.
We have to stop him.
We have to
stop him.
They
gave him $60 million and he said metaphorical eggs.
It's too late. Death Stranding 2 is confirmed.
I have a note way later in this, which is just, I am so morbidly curious about what he's doing with Jordan Peele.
Yeah, that looks freaky as hell. Anyway.
The fact that Death Stranding 1 didn't kill his production company says that he has a blank check for life. That's all I'm saying.
And it's galling. Anyway, let's continue.
Continue. The other thing that's introduced is the Gekko, as we briefly mentioned. Quickly, to me, like, this is going to be a weird lawyer thing where it's like, these are not mechs, but they are giant robots, so I think that they need to figure into
I think that's
the canon.
very fair because something that was made clear to me in the Chip and Ironica's playthrough is that there was cut content where there was supposed to be a manned version of the Gekko.
Yeah.
And you only see them in like one fight because that was cut.
Oh yeah, the power suits. The PMCs do have power suits when you're riding on top of Drebin's armored truck. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm more willing to be like the Gekkos are not a mech because there is a version of the Gekko that is a mech.
Yeah.
Here's my take.
Yeah.
Here's my take. A lot of this is drone warfare.
Oh yeah,
and I can totally believe that there is somebody piloting this from a cooled trailer in the Arizona desert.
Yeah, my note on the beginning of this game is I was so much more invested in this game's general premise because it felt less incoherent. It was so funny because it was like there was such a concentrated look at how is warfare being technologized. Like, why is most of American technology development funded by DARPA?
Yeah.
And I love that there's literally a DARPA name drop because that's where Otacon got some of his blueprints.
Hey, what's the other DARPA thing that we get? Did you catch that, by the way, Nico?
Maybe not.
That Donald Anderson, the DARPA chief that dies in Metal Gear Solid 1, was SIGINT.
Oh, yeah, I caught that at the very end. That was wild. But, like, this game is so concerned with who is making money off of war. Why would we go to war forever?
The war economy.
And the role that private military companies play in warfare. This game is very concerned with repeatedly mentioning this system will stop atrocities without, like, specifically mentioning atrocities.
Yeah.
But they're like in the air. And, like, I was so interested in what this game seemed to be doing in the beginning. And then it became a Metal Gear game. But, I definitely felt like this had more interesting things to say to me and things that felt more grounded in reality than, say, 3, which I struggled with a lot ideologically. At least we don't have to talk about the immortal science of Marxism-Leninism anymore.
No, and I think one of the things I do have in my notes about this is that I think what this is trying to do, and the mechanic and kind of theme that I do kind of hate to see go that does fall off of this game is like the helping the rebels and making that stuff matter thing.
Yeah, it just vanishes at some point, and I hated that.
And I get why, because I think that most of that was trying to illustrate to you what is going on in the world and why it is so important that we have to go do this thing. But I wanted more of it in general, and that's part of the game is technically 4 hours long issue, I think. So anyway, just real quick if you in case you have not seen these eponymous characters, Geckos have like a Metal Gear Solid Rex head, and then these freaky triple toe, like suction cup bioorganic legs.
Yeah, they're meat legs.
They're meat
half
legs.
meat, half mech. All my special baby. I love them.
They have so many insanely cool. They are scary as shit.
Yeah.
They're like really cool. They have a bunch of insane violence that happens to and around and because of them. It's really, really awesome.
Yeah, there's a whole sequence where they're like chasing Snake through a half destroyed house in the beginning.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of their different like tech, like basically their warfare suite.
Yeah.
And it is really cool. It's like really harrowing to see Snake go toe to toe with a couple of these.
The other important thing that happens in this first kind of run up is that we get the return of a woman. I have to make a correction. I have to make a notes app apology. I said in Metal Gear Solid 1 episode that Meryl was going to come back and kind of have her moment. I was having the memories of like a 15-year-old. I do think that this game serves her a lot better than the first one did. I do think that.
Yeah.
I don't know that she is the sparkling muscle mommy that I remember. But any quick comments about Meryl's introduction, which is pretty unequivocally badass. Like, I don't really have an issue with anything going on here.
She gets to be a competent military commander, and I appreciated that.
Yeah.
I mean, we can, who we meet before we meet her, though. Our little guy.
Is it Drebin?
No, it's Akiba.
What is that barrel making noise over there? Is that barrel farting? Oh my God! The man is just crouched over shitting.
The most important character in all of Metal Gear.
I'm gonna say this right now so that my stance is understood. I hate shit jokes. I just do. Fart joke, shit joke, doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
So y'all can imagine my experience of this character.
Yeah.
I hate this man.
Oh, you mean the character whose entire trope is poop jokes?
Hey, he has poop jokes and heteronormativity, and guess what else? The poop jokes are plot critical. So
yeah, that's the worst part. My thoughts on the introduction of Meryl and her gang is I don't know why we needed this little band of Foxhound.
They're nothing.
They're such a nothing burger. They're Meryl +3, and it's just a reason to give Meryl an out from following Snake.
I do like that it shows that there are so many different operators on the board, and I do like them as kind of an example of a typical PMC faction at this point. I know they're US government affiliated, but like they have typical nano machines. They have a typical operating behavior. They show you what nano machines are supposed to do for people.
Yes, exactly.
And then they also show you the pitfalls in a way that just watching the enemy PMC fall apart wouldn't be as personal.
I didn't get that. That's great.
Like specifically the scene where Liquid first tests the nano machine or the Sons of the Patriots disruption thing that he was doing. And you see everybody go down, but it isn't really until you see Meryl and her squad, like, get fucking wrecked by this thing that it feels really personal and like a real threat.
Yeah,
so I think that's kind of the role they play.
Yeah, especially because all the PMC wear masks and stuff. Like they're intentionally.
Yeah, they're not people in that way.
And I do appreciate the way that this sets Meryl up to have at least like 3/4 of an arc in this game, which is that she is much more competent, but she's also
which is forgiving her dad.
Which is that to me that kind of falls to the side of she is someone who is overconfident. Part of the problem, means well, but very proud and needs to learn an extremely hard lesson.
Yeah.
But,
which I thought that was what Metal Gear Solid 1 was, but it's weird that she still needs to learn that lesson, old man. Also, hey, Meryl, it's been 5 years. Get a new haircut.
No, I love her hair.
Honestly, though, I would have loved her in a high and tight. My little butch heart.
Okay, fantasy. Johnny doesn't have the shit jokes and is just a fail girl, and she turns into a lesbian.
Dude, if it was Yuri, we would be having a different conversation.
Johnny should be a woman.
Do we want to talk about, is this where we should talk about the frogs?
Yeah.
And all of that?
I do want to say very briefly, we are introduced to your merchant in this game.
Yes. Drebin is great.
Who is Drebin893, who is visually, in terms of symbols, is a little confusing, but I ended up liking him a lot.
He's cool.
He's a dude who launders guns. I love that. That's his whole thing. All the guns that you pick up from the PMCs are ID locked, and he launders your guns so you can use them.
It's a great concept.
He's kind of your exposition guy in a major way, including especially for the BB squad.
I hate this, by the way.
Yeah.
I hate that he's the guy that feeds this to you. That's weird to me. I don't like it at all. But anyway.
Yeah. But he is a kind of an interesting character, and he has some of the funnest, coolest, especially ass-saving moments in this game. I do love that about Drebin. But yeah, I think we could move on to the confrontation between the frogs and Meryl's squad if we wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really that much to say here. Alice, I have a suspicion that you have more to say about the frogs than either of us do. I think they're really cool. That's basically just it for me.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about the military-industrial complex, sometimes called the war economy, in this video game.
Yeah.
I don't know where technology went in the Metal Gear universe, but boy howdy has technology gotten crazy and nanomachines have gotten crazy. So let me get this straight. Liquid has his own personal army PMC called the Frogs, but they're all women who are from war zones. You then slap them in these cool-ass tactical muscle suits like Snake has, with this awesome plate armor that they wear, as well as the coolest little beady little masks that have kind of a Psycho Mantis feel to them. Everybody uses a P90, which, as we have established, is the greatest gun of all time.
They are also all Spider-Man.
Yes, they all have claw feet. They're frogs. They jump.
Yeah.
And I just think it's very funny because when you think of special forces, you think of SEALs, Navy SEALs, often called frogmen. These are just frog women. And they're badass. And also, when you kill them, they puff into blue smoke because they die.
Not blue smoke, they burn up.
Their nanomachines, what's it called? Yeah, self-terminate. Yeah.
So that you can't steal the technology.
It's one of the coolest things to me.
Now, a couple of other things about the frogs. If you get the drop on a frog, you can pat the frog down.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know this.
And sometimes the frog compliments you on your pat down. Another thing, when you get the drop on a male PMC, you can grab his balls to knock him out. You can't do that with the women.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they do make, I forget what kind of comment they make, but they do make a comment when you grab their crotch, and I just...
There's one. You can get a one-off line.
So, that's rancid. I thankfully did not have to experience that because I played on... Liquid easy mode, and
the Japanese easy mode.
And I was just running around with the operator, I just kept buying suppressors for it, and I was just nailing PMCs. Just
you were boss.
The other games, I was trying pretty hard to do a non-kill playthrough just because I kind of wanted to. No, these are foreign insurgents for a capitalist murder enterprise. I am absolutely running across the battlefield, headshotting every single one I can possibly find.
I can't believe Brian hates women because it must be said that Liquid is the greatest employer of women in the war economy.
He's not wrong.
He even promotes women to management, aka bosses.
So the last thought I have on this is this is the fully, hey, this is an action game now. We've had our stealth sections, But you have this like cool, bizarre fight in this Middle Eastern building with like an open lobby where they're jumping around and like you can go guns blazing. You can sort of sneak it, but you also have 3 guys. There's really you can only shoot through it pretty much.
Yeah.
And it's much more actiony. You drop like 30 of these guys. There's the amount of bodies you leave behind compared to any other game would make the sorrow cry.
There's also, just from a technological standpoint, you have like 4 escort team members who are all doing their own things in like separate rooms. Sometimes Meryl will get stuck staring at a wall, but other than that, it's really, really well done.
Their AI is pretty good, yeah. Like, they're actually pretty competent support.
They're doing their whole play, like you can watch them the whole time, and they do like a whole moving through the building, and they have little character
they do a really good job, except for Akiba.
Yeah, the frogs are interesting. I do think there's almost a commentary being made here, which is really funny because I feel like the thread gets picked up in, unfortunately, I'm sure there's other pieces of media, but I thought of the Black Widow movie.
Sure.
Where the whole thing is that women are the most underutilized resource in the world. And I feel like there was like some kind of commentary happening with the fact that Liquid was recruiting all of these like war traumatized women out of various places and making use of them as opposed to just like PMC guys who are all wired up, like, but it doesn't go anywhere, so you just kind of have to leave it. So yeah, I don't know. The frogs are interesting. I like when you fight the frogs. My favorite thing is that if you drop the emotion magazine that has the BB squad in it on the ground to distract them, they salute. It's really good. That's what I'll say about the frogs. They respect women. They are strong women.
Let's talk about mechanics. Let's use that to talk about mechanics. Emotions of your enemies play into this game, as well as the stress meter, which is the funniest cutscene mechanic I've ever seen in my life.
Can I talk about my favorite part of Snake's stress meter?
Yeah.
Which is that one of the things you can do to reduce your stress is to look at a porno mag.
Yeah.
Which made me laugh because, like, you know, technically the purpose of looking at a porno mag is to kind of work yourself up. But it calms Snake, and my first and only thought I had, which just laid me out for a while, was just Snake finds the presence of women calming.
Bro!
Oh, I thought he was reading it for the articles.
No, like, I kind of have a similar thought, which is just that, like, Snake spends so much time, like, patiently listening to dying women, like... I don't know what his weird...
He's calmed by the presence of women. I don't know what to tell you.
He's kind of sterilized in this game. Like, I mean, he's sterilized in, like, a reproductionary sense in general.
Old.
It's because... that's what I was going to say. It's because he became old.
I love old Snake. I love that he's a grumpy old man. I love that you can get back patches.
Yes.
I love that if you roll too much on the ground, he can throw his back out.
Yes.
I love old Snake.
I love old Snake too.
It's very funny.
It's very good.
They get some of the lines and David Hayter's deliveries of like a forgetful old
David
man.
David Hayter's old voice is just him garbling as hard as he can.
No, he's got like old smoker's bronchitis voice. He's doing work in this video game. Like, I think he did such a good job.
Okay, I haven't heard that before, but I believe it, yeah.
I don't know. I think it's like great.
Every time Otacon and Sunny stop him smoking, I just had to put my face in my hands. Every moment of that is so
Let the
good.
dying man smoke.
But he can have a soda. It's a metaphor. It's one of the many metaphors in this. The soda had nanomachines in it, Nico. Did you know that?
Oh, fuck me. I mean, I believe it. At the end of Act 1 is when we first see the BB squad for the first time, which is when I was hyped out of my fucking mind because they've all got, like, cyber suits. One is Doc Ock, one is the Vulture, one is...
They're all being little freaks.
They're all freaks, and I loved when they appeared. This will be my high point of my interaction with the BB squad.
I think that they look absolutely incredible. This is some of my favorite character design in all of history. Psycho Mantis, or Screaming Mantis is one of the coolest things I think I have ever seen.
Yeah, all of the aesthetic design in this game for the robots and robotics and cybernetics is so peak to me. Like, it's just, I love it. I really love it.
The like stretchy, latexy, weird ligament like limbs that some things have are just creepy and excellent.
The use of like black latex texture and then metal textures, like it's very cool. I really like it. I definitely think this is an aesthetic that a bunch of different things pick up and carry on. I think it was formative to a lot of like...
Oh, I just think the PS3 has shiny textures.
I know, but I think that was leaned into.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you remember in Price of Smiles when we talked about, like, 3D models are always floaty, and so the fact that they hover kind of leans into that. I feel like the fact that the textures on PS3 were so shiny, like, they leaned into it with their aesthetics. They're like, yeah, put more latex on shit. It looks good.
Make people sweaty. There's a shot of Big Boss when his face is like drenched in sweat is like the wettest thing I've ever seen. Anyway, so I mean the big things overall, vibe check, Nico, your favorite man is back. How are we feeling?
Vamp is back. I love Vamp so much. He is back. He is serving Neo from the Matrix.
Yes, he is.
How is Vamp back? Wasn't he cut in half? How is he back, Nico?
Because he's fucking immortal, okay? Don't worry about it. I don't care what anyone says later. He was a real vampire.
Yes, exactly. No, to me, I feel exactly the same way. I love every single thing he does in this video game.
The ultimate moment that he does. He is boarding a helicopter with Naomi. They've kidnapped Naomi. I'm skipping a lot of stuff, but we'll get back to it. We'll circle back. He's boarding a helicopter. He gets shot in the head. He's shot in the head with such force, he spins around.
Multiple times.
And he was talking on a flip phone when this happened. The flip phone went up in the air. He finishes his spins. He catches the flip phone. He does like a dead drop. And he finishes the call, and then he says, I'm going to take a nap. And then he just lays
while laying backwards.
It is like one of the greatest things in all time. Yeah. And like another thing that's just really cool, and this comes up constantly, everything Snake does as a professional soldier is just so good. The way he holds his gun, the way he posts himself up.
Where he braces it, so he uses both a shoulder brace where you tuck it into your arm, which helps with stability. So he uses the M4 in this as his main weapon, which is the best weapon in the game because it has the most mods. But it's also like, this is his iconic gun from this one. Is not a pistol, it's a rifle, which is wild to me. But he's getting ready to take a shot because he knows he can get one shot off before they notice him. And he uses his hand to brace the barrel of the rifle. And this is a technique you use where you fan out your fingers to get range markers with your fingers to kind of gauge distance. It's so perfect. But every move that he makes is the most tactical, overdone, high-speed operator bullshit, and it's sexy.
There's a bunch of that. Meryl does one too, where she reloads her gun with the crook of her knee at one point.
Yep.
That I was just like, woo, we're back, baby. Yeah. Anyway, so we've kind of been talking around it. The central kind of premise or thing of Act 2 is you're tracking down Naomi. She asks you to save her while shoving the camera into her tits. I don't know. Anyway, because if you're a woman and you don't have anything you have unbuttoned or zipped all the way down to your clit, you're not allowed to be in the game, okay?
Unless you're really wet.
Anyway, you're finding Naomi. You do a fun thing where you help a rebel faction like bulldoze their way into a mansion. It's like one of the fun parts of the game to me.
It is really cool.
Can we talk about the funniest development in this game that I was so sad that they retconned at the end?
What was it?
Colonel Campbell stole Raiden's girlfriend.
This began a series of deeply harmful and uncomfortable things that I was like constantly thinking about as I played this video game.
How old is Rose in that game?
It doesn't matter. She's a lying psychopath and I'm glad she's in a bunch of terrible situations. But here's the thing.
I really don't like her.
I really don't like her at all as a person. The ending of this game, anyway.
Raiden, get a divorce.
Get a divorce.
I'm just like, that is my advice. No, so Rose is back, obviously, but she's back as Campbell's apparently super young new wife, and that's part of the dissonance between Meryl and Campbell. Is that she thinks he's an old pervert freak for marrying this younger woman.
And he's weird about it anyway, because he leans into it, because at one point he says to Snake, he's like, haha, lucky aren't I? Like, Like,
yeah, it's...
You don't have to be weird about it, but you are.
But my favorite thing is the apparent story of this is that Raiden got turbo PTSD and it scared Rose so much that she went to Campbell for comfort after Raiden disappeared, and then their whole cover story is just that, like, oh, and then things progressed from there.
Yeah.
Which basically sounds like Campbell moved in on a grieving woman, and
yeah,
all of this is so awkward.
Campbell sucks so fucking bad. I cannot believe we're supposed to just be, like, glad that he's here. That's clearly what the game wants you to think.
I was waiting for him to turn out to be a piece of shit so we could get rid of him, if I'm being honest.
I know.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I have learned from y'all's sage teachings in the course of the Metal Gear, is that don't trust the Colonel.
Yeah.
Like, do not trust whoever is giving you orders, whether it's Colonel Campbell, whether he's a real person or an AI, or whether it's Zero. Like, you don't trust the Colonel. And so I kept waiting for the turn. And then at the end, he's just like at a wet... Anyway. Rose is your on-call counselor, which I cannot think of a worse woman. There are a lot of podcasts advertising BetterHelp. You should not do that because they take your personal data and there are a lot of problems with BetterHelp. Like, do your research.
Rosemary works for BetterHelp. After the end of this game, Rosemary goes and works for BetterHelp.
If you contact BetterHelp, you will get Rosemary. Do not bet on
I just want to say
BetterHelp.
that I think that Rosemary's circumstances are wrapped up in a characterization of Raiden in this game that I think is really thin and unsatisfying.
Yeah.
And it makes me kind of bummed out. Howsoever, I am so unwell about I am lightning the rain transformed that I don't really know what else to say. Like, I don't know. Raiden shows up to be dismembered and then shows up again to be dismembered and then shows up again. Yeah. Like,
hey, and bleed a lot of cum.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
He's coming everywhere.
We've talked about everything in Act 2 except for the thing that I don't want to
I'll talk about the entire sequence in the Naomi's
Look,
lab.
hey, this is what I'll say. Great concept for a boss fight. Really cool idea.
Well, and what leads you here? You find Naomi, and the content of what you discover with Naomi is just normal Metal Gear horse shit. Like, oh, Snake is becoming a walking biological weapon, whatever.
Oh, Fox.
It's a cool kind of sci-y montage, right?
It's a great science fiction concept. I like it a lot.
Except for the fact that repeatedly throughout this not only is Naomi's top unbuttoned to her fucking belly button, not only is she not wearing a bra, which makes something you find later incomprehensible.
Oh, yeah.
Continue.
You can use various camera angles, and I think this is like the L1 button viewing and whatever, to repeatedly attempt to look down her shirt and try to look up her skirt. And this happens to her a couple of different times, and it's so frustrating.
Yes.
This is what Brian said. This leads us into the peak of my despair.
What this is doing to me as I'm playing this game is there is incredibly compelling character work and plot work and military sci-fi like bullshit happening that I've always loved a lot conceptually and just has been like fuel to the engine of the way that I love to tell stories. And then at the same time, there's like this like thing where Hideo Kojima is like elbowing me away from that for this shit. Like, it's so fucking frustrating. Like, he's literally putting himself between me and the way he obviously wants me to feel about the story. What the fuck are you doing?
Because, well, I mean, I had to take a step back, right?
Yeah.
Because the one thing that must be said about OSG is that we're queer.
Yeah.
Whoa!
I mean, I'm sorry to out Alice like this, but... No, I just think that alienates us from the perspective, right?
Yeah.
And I had to take a step back because I had gotten in my feelings and was like, how could anyone have enjoyed this? And I'm just like, well, actually, I'm not most people. Right?
That's a really good point.
Like, this game specifically for me as a lesbian woman is very difficult in a way that it isn't for perhaps like a straight guy. And I had to take a step back and think about the fact that, like, for a lot of people, this is something that won't be interrogated for a long time, if ever. And this is considered part of the verisimilitude of warfare. Like, it's a guy's game. When women are around, like, it's usually in porno mags and things like that. And even competent women suffer certain indignities. And that objectification is just part of it, right? And I had to take a step back because I felt so alienated by this game in a way that I realized was to a degree unique. right? And so I cut that allowance. But let's talk about the part of this that almost gave me hope, which is actually the boss fight with Laughing Octopus.
Well,
it's very cool.
I'm gonna make one comment on Naomi.
Yes.
And live in your truth. I think she does good at being the sex pot spy that Eve was in 3. And that is how I interpret her character.
Well, and also I agree with you, but this is the same conversation that we had in that game, which is that we can do this with her without making the camera part of it, without implicating me, a gay man, as part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, without making camera angles specifically to look down her shirt or up her skirt, almost an Easter egg.
Up at the top, she is actually not doing that with Snake. She does it with Otacon. And when she does it with Otacon, I actually think it works a lot better, just like visually.
Well, I think she's doing it with Snake too. But that's like a lore, like, we can argue the philosophy, we can be Metal Gear fans about it, but I will say, my other thought is, who's wearing stockings in South American summers? Like,
can I say one thing about her fucking wardrobe, which is also just incomprehensible? Yeah, she doesn't have a bra, which she somehow loses a bra. She also loses her pumps in the same sequence, and then later has to have a big woman moment where she takes off her pumps.
Where she rips her pencil skirt and kicks off her pumps that she lost. I'm like, bitch, you just had those? What are we doing?
They were spares. Snake is comforted by the presence of women, so he always carries a spare pair of pumps.
I can see in Naomi's size.
They're tactical.
He's never gotten over
he had to go to Drebin to have those adjusted, but
he had to go to Drebin to have the heels laundered through the SOP system.
Oh my god.
They were locked to him, so he had to have them open.
Drag has changed.
I think this is when I will talk about the B&Bs now.
Yes.
If that's okay.
Yes.
I get it. I love everything about it. I love the trauma. I love the suits. I love the everything. As we've discussed, because I'm going to try and keep it to the mech part of this, because we're already an hour in. I consider Mecha Musume part of the mechasphere, and these are Mecha Musume.
Can you explain that? Because you've mentioned it a couple times. Like, Mecha Musume, like, I know what Musume means. It's like young woman, but
in the same way that a bionic arm, I would consider a mech, right? So a Mecha Musume is generally a woman, almost always a woman, in a skin-tight or very skimpy suit with robotic metal parts on her that are attached that enhance her combat abilities.
Symphogear. If you ever heard or seen anything Symphogear is like the thing that people think about.
Is the one, is the big one. Yeah.
Like, I knew this was a genre, but like I didn't know much about it.
It's very big. It's concerning. But let's talk about the suit.
The suits are so cool. The suits almost made me forgive.
So Brian, you wrote a note in here that I do want to give reverence to. I'm sorry if you've already said it, but the one about like Drebin explaining how defeating Snake will let them deal with their blank, blank, blank.
Yeah, so the way Drebin says it is kind of cool in the beginning, and then the way that it ends up actually kind of coming into the play is really fucking annoying, actually.
Yeah.
But anyway, he says that they've been convinced that by killing Snake, they can be free of the pain, the fury, and the sorrow, which are very specific usages of words, I think, right?
Yeah.
And that's fun. And to me, I think that just at the top level, the B&B core, the Beauty and the Beast core is what they're called. They're the women in the suits. They all have an animal theme. They're all psychos. They are another run at the Cobra unit, and I think that they do a lot better of a job at the concept of the thing. Like there's a degree to which they are not Pokemon running around saying their own names. Like they do have cornhole lines, but a couple of the really cool differences is that this is very small, but I think it does a lot of lifting. Their lines are about eliciting those emotions in Snake. They are not about just saying the word a lot and like having a weird theme. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The fury.
They do have stories and they do have things going on. It sucks that you have to do a bunch of violence to them and then hear it from a man afterwards.
Yeah.
That like clangs for me. You know, overall, like a lot of the stuff that's going on here is visually cool, visually beautiful, even if I think that we can maybe take the camera out of Hideo's hands and just maybe
every ass
put it over
in
here.
This game gets a 30-minute low-angle shot of that ass crawling across the floor. Snake, Liquid, everyone. But especially the B&Bs.
You can see pussy lips. They are vacuum packed in these fucking things.
It's miserable. And I this is, we talked about in the Metal Gear Solid 3 episode, Watsonian and Doyleist, right? And it's like, within the story, there's a justification. Outside the story, finding out that Hideo Kojima hired models to do a lot of work on these characters, to do motion capture, to get like their exact face, to do poses, we haven't even gotten into the poses, the dancing, all of the other shit you can make these women do.
I don't think we need to. Those are Easter eggs. I think we can ignore them.
Yeah. But I mean, it's all symptomatic, right? And it was really telling to me that when Hideo Kojima decided that he wanted 4 beautiful women in this, he didn't go look for actresses. He went and got models. And like that tells you what you need to know. Their performance is not important. Their appearance is important.
Right.
So the suit, one thing I do love is that the suits, so when they show everybody gets character introduction in Metal Gear, they tell you like, here is the voice actress name, and here's a voice actor name?
Yeah.
Because the suit itself is voiced by the Cobra unit from the old games. And you hear it in this like garbled talking over it, and then once you break the suit, it's gone.
The double talk is really, really cool. All their intros are cool. And then
all of the tech is very cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, this fight, the laughing octopus fight.
Let's talk about the fight really briefly. It's really, really good. You're in this lab, and the cool thing is the lab has all of these, like it has like 6 rooms and then a bunch of hallways, and there's so much stuff to interact with, and you're going around trying to find out where Laughing Octopus is because she has the same kind of camouflage that you do. And there's a couple of insanely cool ones, like when she pretends to be the anatomy statue. That one's really cool.
When she pretends to be the painting.
She pretends to be the painting.
Or just she's up in the rafters, non-cloaked. It's like, oh my fucking God, I'm fighting a real person.
There's also a really funny one where she is just in a box. Just a bunch of fun stuff.
But it's also not just like, so all the boss fights you also usually fight the frogs or another NPC with them. But also like, she's not just a gimmick of hide and seek. Her actual fighting is wildly cool. She has Solidus's tentacles. Let's say it. Her helmet is 6 of Solidus's tentacles that she just wears on her head and like carries her body like we're in fucking Fooly Cooley.
Well, she's serving Doc Ock for sure.
She is.
But it's just a very fun fight, and like there's so much you can do. There's so many ways to play it. It's one of my favorite combat arenas in any Metal Gear.
Oh, another really funny thing that she does is she'll like roll charge at you like a Katamari as a ball.
Yeah, it's an extremely damaging attack, actually.
Yeah.
But it's hilarious to watch.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I loved all of the combat. I was having so much fun, and it's very funny because you can see my notes. This is when it happens.
Why? What happens after you defeat phase 1? Read.
My note says, I like the Laughing Octopus boss fight. The thing she turns into, the Otacon decoy. And I put a period. And then it says, and then she comes out of her suit softcore porn style.
Softcore?
No, I mean, the thing is, no nips, no whatever, but she is drenched in basically lube.
Oh, there are nips.
And she comes out of this suit, and the whole thing that the BB unit does, once you get them out of their extremely fucking cool suit, is they walk at you sexily while having trauma happen. And Alice, would you like to pick up and talk about this in a way that is not just...
Brian, it looked like you had something to say.
I do. I have something positive to say, just in the sense that, like, I think that, like, from an artistic standpoint, conceptually, what's happening is actually kind of, there's something there's a world in which this is actually really beautiful and haunting, because what's happening is she's walking towards you while just like the sounds of warfare and like screaming and explosions are happening in the distance. And like, for Laughing Octopus, it's obviously laughing. And there's like a way in which just kind of like associating this weird, like, beautiful human form with this stuff, and how, like, honestly really fucking creepy it is. Up front, I was so uncomfortable with this though that I tranquilized them. Like, I used real guns in every other situation, but when they came out of their suits, I felt absolutely fucking bizarre about shooting them. It was extremely difficult for me. After I defeated Laughing Octopus, I kind of sat there for a second and I was like, do I even keep going, or do I just watch all the cutscenes? Like, I literally had a moment of that.
That's what happened for me too. Like, what I wrote down is basically like, I felt so disrespected at this point as a woman, like just as a person who shares an identity with these characters. Especially because, again, like, I was watching the Chip and Ironicus playthrough, so they showed the Easter eggs. So, you know, and that's something we don't have to talk about, but, like, the fact that they exist.
Yeah.
The fact that they exist says as much as the hiring models bit. Like, there's a degree to which we need to look at only the content of the game, and then there's also a degree to which we cannot escape the metatextual, which is that, like, you can make them dance for your entertainment. If you try to take a photo of them with the digital camera, they pose sexily for you. Like, there was so much here, and it got to me so badly that I was legitimately like, I don't know that I can respect anything else Hideo Kojima has to say because he does not respect me as a human being. That was my low point. So I went and got sake. Yeah. And like I said, the pattern of this...
You drank every time misogyny happened and you died, just like
and I did
2.
die, and I'm a ghost. No, I put a bunch of frozen mango cubes in a glass and then just poured sake over it and let that, like, sit, and then I sipped on it throughout the rest of the game, and I came out of it okay.
So, all right. I'm going to do my B&B 15.
Yep.
My tight 15. Okay. I'm going to give the concept of what the B&B is to the listeners so you know. The B&B core are women who experience trauma in warfare or in war zones that have then been taken from their place of being traumatized, put into these mecha musume skin-tight latex, which both mind control them as well as give them superpowers and keep them alive. The suits become like their own ecosystems. They live in them, they don't leave them, and they're being controlled. We learn that it's all being controlled by a guy at the end of it, which is whatever. But
yeah, no.
So I'm not queer, but I'm a trans woman who's queer. Wait.
Alice starting new inter-community discourse.
I'm going to start this. I'm a trans woman, so I feel like my female experience is different than that of AFABs, right? I can come out and say that. I feel like it is a different experience, but there are shared experiences. Mm-hmm. Yes, this feels a little gross to me. Momma, I think from an artistic standpoint, I really love what they do, the visualizations. I think like them being like, the fact that people are like, oh, and they're really hot under the suits too, like Drebin comments that, is just like, oh, this is just women in warfare. Like, I think of Eve, right, from Metal Gear Solid 3. She's doing sexy shit. She's being hot, because that's what women can do in warfare, is be sexy and hot. And so, like, it's them in the battlefield, but also so in all of the games, the boss fights are about defeating the bosses and freeing them from whatever was holding them back, right? You're releasing them from their bonds. Fortune, you give her death, right? Vamp, you give him death once and then twice and then 3 times. A Liquid and everybody. You give everybody their escape. That is what Snake does to these bosses. He is this force that helps them get over whatever their big bullshit is. So to take that from the other games, and I think Metal Gear Solid 1 with the Sniper Wolf fight, which we get a version of in this game, but where you're just sitting there and Snake is listening to women die. But this is different because, and I think myself and and Brian and you, like, you have the option to take them down less lethally. And we learned that if they leave the suits, which is why they're all gooey, they'll die in a couple of minutes. So you can either kill them, just outright kill them, which feels very bad when they're just walking at you and trying to hug you. They hug you and damage you because, I don't know. But I think the act of, and while it is not visually like, I think of it as like a visual art performance. Like, I think of ballet and interpretive dance when they're doing their bullshit more than I do sexiness. Because, like, I don't know, it's hot, but it's also like, I'm very sad for them. So I can't find it hot, but I'm seeing it as like an interpretive dance of my trauma. And you have a chance to release them from that trauma and save them, and they return to what they were, you know, they curl up into a fetal position at the end of it because they're saved. We don't know what happens to them after that. I don't know, they get a fucking office job. We don't get any closure on the B&Bs. Depending on what you do, you don't know what ends up. You leave them.
One of them gets carried off by a wolf.
Yeah, that one's cool. But otherwise, you just kind of just leave them. And then, like,
they're going to eat her. I don't know.
But the idea is, like, the MGS1 bosses are their protective spirits. And then the MGS2 bosses are their weapons. And the MGS3 bosses are their emotion. So they're an amalgamation of all of them, but then the added factor of 4 being that, hey, women in the war zone would probably also be the children of war, and that happens. And also Liquid's hires women in a place where we need diversity, inclusion, and equity.
More female drone pilots.
Okay. DEI in your military-industrial complex. So all of this to say, to wrap up my 15, I see this as a beautiful art performance that's also sexy. However, when I played this when I was 14, I was like, I fucking love the characterization. I love the story. And then Drebin calls you and he tells you the backstory. I'm like, no, I got it. I figured out what their deal was. I'm 14 and I can read between the lines that they came from horrible, like, the Sniper Wolf one, right?
Yeah.
She's crying. She's like, oh, just be quiet. Stop crying. Be quiet. I get it. Done. They're war orphans. There was a baby crying. I can piece those together narratively, but I guess this game isn't written for people who can pull out narrative things.
I do think there is something to say that this game doesn't. There are a lot of points where this game does not trust you to exact specific things.
Any cutscene where they build up like, oh, Johnny and Meryl are gonna fight off these guys. Okay, we know what's gonna happen. Oh, we're gonna show you 30 minutes of it. Why?
Yeah, I wrote a little bit about this because it's like in writing, there's the concept of show, don't tell. And that advice is specifically trying to convince new writers that if you want to convey your story, you don't just have to tell the audience exactly what happened. You can show them action, you can show them characters doing things, and trust your audience to make inferences and connections to understand the point of your story.
And then it's often better to that, not only because it's more narratively satisfying, but because our brains, human brains, love to interpret and find patterns. It is part of why reading is good to us. And so, when you just kind of hand us all the stuff that's happening, it's like, well, you kind of took that away from me. You know what I mean?
It takes some of the pleasure out of reading, and by extension, any media where you just, rely on telling everyone exactly what's happening. It also betrays a lack of confidence in your audience. It's like you don't trust them to understand your vision, which can feel patronizing. And there were a lot of moments in this game where Hideo Kojima gives us a 30-minute, completely non-interactable segment of really cool shit happening that honestly, we'll get to it. The motorcycle shit in France, maybe you don't need to be driving, but there are a lot of stunt moments that I would have liked to have more control over. There are a lot of fight scenes that you don't have any. Yeah, QTEs. I was
would have gone
looking
a long way
for them.
Yeah.
But there's no interaction, and it almost feels like Kojima does not trust a player to execute the scene as he envisions it. Doesn't feel good.
Let's just say it. I'm going to say the Drebin framing, which is 1, mandatory. He calls you right after to tell you. And 2, it's after.
We have regressed somehow from Sniper Wolf.
On the codec, which in Metal Gear is known for, you can call 2 people, Hal Emmerich and Rose. Rose is just there to save. Hal is there to give you whatever else. But I can't call Drebin and find that out optionally or get details beforehand. Drebin calls me and says, hey, that girl you might have just killed? She did some horrible things.
Well,
okay.
Why can... To me, it is a lack of writerly imagination to not be able to fit them telling me their own story into their insanity. That would have been so much more compelling.
They don't have their own voice. It's horrible.
That's why I say that we've regressed from Sniper Wolf, right? Because for all that Sniper Wolf was unzipped to the clit and all this stuff, she told you her story.
Exactly,
Her fighting told you part of her story. There was so much that went into her interactions in cutscenes told you part of her story. These characters only appear in combat, screaming things at you, and then you fight them, and then at the end you get their whole backstory.
And a cool gun, hey!
Yeah, and of course you loot the corpse, but
and you get the figurine for knocking them out.
It's miserable. It feels bad. It feels bad. And I mean, my thing that I came down to was just that, this was a cool concept, and the execution was really bad, and I was really frustrated. Alice, you were talking about women in warfare have to be sexy, and that there's a certain aesthetic interest in projecting the pain and the horror and the violence of warfare onto beautiful feminine bodies. Because I think that there's a cultural feeling that those bodies should not be associated with warfare, right? But what that does is that it kind of precludes woman including any other body type, and it precludes harm being left as evidence on the body. These women have gone through horrors, and yet under the suits they are pristine.
Do you think that originally they had lines and then they were like, oh, models can't act? We probably shouldn't do that?
No, because the lines they do have are pretty good. I like their screaming and a lot of it is pretty good.
He literally didn't give a voice to the women. He literally had a guy he gave the voice to them.
But yeah, this was my lowest point. And then Vamp came back and then I was okay.
The Vamp versus Raiden versus Gekko's fight scene is one of the all-timers. It's so good.
Raiden is doing Devil May Cry shit.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking god. The whole sequence.
Raiden, first of all, Raiden has heals and can use them for combat.
Raiden got fuck me pumps.
Raiden has fuck me pumps, cum blood.
Can we just say, what a redemption of Raiden? This is the greatest comeback.
I don't know
think
about
he needed
that.
redemption.
There's a way to put him in this game and have him be cool without making it about how he immediately regressed into a permanent state of derealization immediately after Metal Gear Solid 2, and Rose lied to him and left him that way.
Yeah, no, he had a full mental breakdown and nobody checked in on him for 5 years.
Raiden is my special little guy for many reasons, but here briefly, let me summarize. He came back, he got the body done, he got the ass shots, he got the just like he's got heals. He went full cyborg ninja, right? He went full cyborg ninja.
Mandibles.
He went off the map because nobody was like taking care of this guy. Like he had an episode of depersonalization and he just like vanished. But during that time, you know what he did? He went and he got Sunny. He got Sunny and he delivered her to Snake and to Otacon. That is my understanding.
Yes, he got Sunny, he delivered to Otacon. He also got Big Boss and delivered him to Eva. Like, he was the impetus for...
He does the most work in this game.
And then just like having mental crises, but then every time he interacts with Sunny, it is the most precious shit I've ever seen in my fucking life.
Sunny cares so much for Raiden. It is the cutest thing in the world.
I love him. Raiden.
Also, my man takes a katana to Gekko's and kills 3 at a time. So that's it. He's the only one who can...
That's not even talking about when he gets the wires wrapped around his legs and just starts swinging them. Like,
He break dances 3 Gekkos. Yeah.
Okay, so did you notice in that scene, they show Vamp is there and he's doing capoeira dancing to dodge them as they're flinging around? Yeah. And I was just like, I love Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, did you catch when he had Raiden, like, restrained by all the wires and was, like, moving around him, like, inches away from grabbing his crotch and his nipples and his face, like, for, like, 90 seconds? Vamp and Raiden have gay sex in this video game.
There is a note, not even in this fight, but there is a later fight that is just gay sex right down to Vamp licking the cum blood off of... Could Grindr have saved them? This is the question. If they had gotten pinged when they were in the area but before the battle...
No, because Vamp has a flip phone.
Also, okay, so he pulls out the flip phone. He's immediately talking to somebody. He never dials anything, and that's the best part of it.
He's always on the phone with Liquid. He's just always on the phone.
Constant phone.
That is a like 7-day phone call. He never really hung up on Liquid.
So yeah, this ends in Raiden being totally fucked up. It's really violent and really cool, and one of the cool things about it is, like, I don't think we need to litigate, like, is Raiden's body a mech, but we know that it's machinery, and the way that it can, like, take abuse and be repaired is something that's really, really cool in this video game.
Consider it in the way that I would Cyborg Ninja. I do feel like this is just the future version of Cyborg Ninja.
There's always a Snake. There's always a Cyborg Ninja.
There's always a lighthouse. Wait.
There's always wait. There's always psychosexual bullshit that we have to drink to recover from. I want to talk about a couple things real quick.
Yes.
The one thing that just the plot importance that we skipped over that I think is one of the most compelling things in all of art is the way that Liquid hijacks the SOP system. Mm-hmm. One of the things, and this is just, it's about to come up in the next act, so that's why I wanted to get it out of the way really quick. One of the things that he can do is he can shut down the nanomachines that regulate the biometrics of the PMC soldiers. One of the side effects that has is the nanomachines are regulating endorphins and brain chemicals as well, and so it is suppressing the emotive reaction to killing someone. It is suppressing the emotive reaction to alcohol. It is suppressing the emotive reaction to, like, any of the things that it is creating a wall between these soldiers and the human experience in a way that I think is, like, extremely compelling. What happens when you take that wall down? Everything that they've done assaults them in such an intense way, and there's the physical aspect of this is all real. So the image and the visualization of just people losing their fucking minds to this shit is one of the coolest things. They talk about it a lot more later about, like, what it has in society, because let me tell you, they do push the big button that turns off all of war.
Yeah, they do that.
So I think I want to talk specifically, I think of in World War II, Germany used methamphetamines to make their soldiers fight longer, harder, and faster and not slow down from those horrible things. And the videos of them crashing.
The pharmaceutical regulation of soldiers to get more performance out of them is a long history, and I'm sure it predates that.
Oh, it still goes. I mean, if you've seen the list of shots you have to get when you enlist, like, they just are putting things in your body you've never heard of, and nobody knows what they do. But also, PTSD wasn't invented until 1980, so...
But I think, Brian, just to cap that point, I think that this whole game is so interested in where emotions and warfare collide.
Yeah.
Where trying to be a person in society collides with the concept of warfare. I think that is what this game is trying to get at. It's there in the emotion magazines. It's there in the BB squad. It's there in the whole issue with the Sons of the Patriots system. It is a major theme of this game. I just feel like, especially with the BB squad, it is running into misogyny in a way that is obstructing what it's trying to say.
Exactly.
Which is much clearer in moments like you're talking about when you see it go offline and then suddenly everybody's having reactions from just like minor freakouts to their heart stopping.
Yeah.
There's so much repression happening that this is regulating. It's a cool concept. I just again, I feel like it is just running into a brick wall with women.
One of the things I do like, though, is talking about emotions. I do like the way that Snake is allowed to be emotive in this game in a way that he hasn't really been up to this point. He's allowed to cry. He's allowed to puke.
Snake takes morale damage like it's Disco Elysium.
Yeah.
If his jokes flop or if someone calls him old, he takes psyche damage.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
It's very good.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say here. I think it sucks that Naomi has to come on and be a mom and teach Sunny how to cook. That whole scene sucks ass. I think it ends. The story attempts to rewrite it as a compelling metaphor for what's really going on while Naomi's on the airplane. But right now it is extremely dire.
Everything it could have said was undercut by her putting the flower on Sunny and being like, us girls have to look our best. Shut the fuck up. Don't do that to her, okay? I love the idea that Sunny would have grown up with the weirdest gender in the world because she's being raised by Otacon, Snake, and a photo of her mom with a beautiful butch haircut.
Also, are you ever autistic and cooking and somebody comes in and tells you, oh, there's a proper way to do that? I'm infuriated.
And gives you tools? Use your egg timer?
Don't fucking come into my kitchen and tell me that what I'm doing is wrong. Yeah, probably. Now is not the time. The cooking is happening. That's it.
I do like that Sunny actually learns to cook, because I feel like an undercurrent of Sunny is that she is part of this, but she is kind of a convenience. She's a good hacker, which is something we haven't talked about. This child is typing on 3 keyboards. This child is cracking encrypted messages.
How did we get the encrypted message from Dr. Naomi? Well, it was 4D radar imaging data that we converted to a video file.
And not we, that Sunny converted to a video file. Yeah. And it kind of feels bad that Sunny is valuable when she is providing the service, and then when she is trying to participate in being a person on the ship, making food or talking to them or whatever, she's kind of brushed off. So there was almost a little bit of a good feeling in that someone was actually giving Sunny attention and talking to her about clearly she really wants to make eggs well, but she didn't know how to do it because nobody knew how to teach her how to do it. I just hate that, of course, it had to be Naomi.
Yeah, it's shitty. I think that something that this game fumbles really badly, though, too, is that it implies and tells you about how much time Otacon and Snake spend with her, but it doesn't show it because I think either it doesn't know how to show Snake living a normal life, or it doesn't want to show men co-parenting a child as more than it wants to.
Yeah, there was an implication that she was being raised, fairly well on this little carrier. And yet again, any time that there would have been a suggestion of almost familial intimacy, it had to be undercut by awkwardness. No one could take the eggs and actually eat them. No one could sit in a group and talk with her or talk with Snake and have it be familial. There was almost this flinch away from the possibility of that happening. So Anyway, I hate that Naomi had to be the whole person, but it is so against bro code for Naomi to try to poach Snake's husband while he's old as fuck.
Bro, this is what I'm saying. This is fucked up.
You cannot be violating bro code like that.
So, I mean, what Naomi's doing here is she is both fooling them to get she's doing an ocelot. She's doing a bunch of stuff here.
This is a certified ocelot moment.
Certified ocelot moment.
Her goal here is to basically give Sunny the tools she needs to write the virus that will kill the Patriots. That's what ends up being the thing that's going on here. It involves seducing Otacon in a scene that makes me so fucking
Otacon, you look so handsome when you can't see.
My 10 minutes about Naomi and my 10 minutes about Otacon are one after the other, and they're at the end. But I have hinted at my special relationship with Otacon as a character, and this whole sequence has viscerally upset me and made me uncomfortable from the first time I ever watched it, mostly because I am just generally uncomfortable with sexualizing Otacon or like making Otacon be in a weird sexy situation because of the way that this franchise has glossed over the fact that he was groomed and sexually traumatized. So like none of this feels okay to me, but you know what? This is what we're doing.
Hey,
so
I just want to say it is one of my fantasies to have sex in a UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter stored in the back of a C-5 Galaxy modified stealth bomber as it flies around the world with me and my super gang of UN observing group people.
Yeah, can we talk about how a character that we're about to have to deal with talks about how fuel is a precious resource in the world and how Snake and Otacon are apparently just constantly in the air on an airplane.
It's an EV. It's an EV. Don't worry about it. There's a big solar panel on it.
Yeah.
No, really quick. I just want to say the worst characterization of Otacon does happen in this game.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for me to talk about. They have him using exclusively Macintosh products.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's from product placement, but you know Otacon is running the most arcane, esoteric Linux build anyone has ever heard of. The idea that he would be using Mac products is embarrassing. Snake having an iPod, I can understand. Otacon having a MacBook.
The wind kind of gets knocked out of you during like the final climax a little bit. Every time Otacon's like running around with a MacBook, just like tumbling, like it's so funny. Like, anyway, Act 3 is very short. Or Act 3 can be very short.
Great concept. That's what I'll say about that segment. Great concept.
I love this segment. I have a difficult relationship with it because this time I was playing on easy. I did a pretty good job. Like I didn't have that hard of a time with it.
So you're in City 17 and you have to get past the Combine soldiers to get through the train station.
Yeah, to save Raiden, who's been dismembered 17 times, you have to get to Europe, and the place in Europe you go, again, is 1940s France.
Well, we're going there for another reason.
It's literally gaslit.
What's the other reason we're heading towards?
We have to meet a character named Big Momma. Now, hey, quick vibe check, Nico. What did you know what was happening here immediately or not?
I didn't know what was happening here immediately. I think I do have a note that's like, okay, literally just mask off. Like, what can women be? Sexier mothers? Okay, let's just do it. And then we got there. The boobs, still a little too perfect. But you know what? I could believe that she would get a boob job. That seems in character.
She does have a bad bitch body.
Yeah.
Big Momma, a.k.a. Eva, which is something we find out, is milfed to the nails. She is mothering.
Can I tell you about the metaphorical iron clamp over my mouth the whole time you were talking about how the boss needed to be milfed in Metal Gear Solid 3? I was like...
You're like, hold on.
Yeah.
She has age lines. She like actually looks like an older woman, and she's kind of serving.
She's voiced by Lee Merriweather, which is fucking wild to hear the words coming out of her mouth.
It's really good.
Imagine you're Lee Merriweather. You're in the old Batmans with Adam West. You were a star of dance and screen in the early eras of film, and Hideo Kojima hands you a script where you have to read the line. And that is when Ocelot grafted Liquid's arm onto his body. And you're like, I guess I'm reading this.
I want to get us here really quick, just super fast. We have a scene with Meryl where she informs us that she is ready to move on Liquid. Snake says, I don't think that's a good idea.
Snake looks young again because the moment after Naomi seduces his husband, he has to go look into, like, you know, freshening up his appearance, looking a little younger. I'm kidding.
The amount of normal I am about this is fine. Anyway, Meryl has a moment where she says some very mean things to Snake. It's a very good character moment. I actually really like it a lot.
Between the two of them, one of the best character moments in the series.
While hey, real quick, symbolism is back. Have you ever heard of symbolism? Yeah.
So the way this is written, the number one, I love the line, people turn to either the Stars and Stripes or the Hammer and Sickle.
Yes.
And also, I didn't need the apple.
Yeah, he tried to bring back the Christianity.
I didn't need the apple, guys.
Stop trying to make Christianity happen.
So a line she says here that kind of devastates me a little bit, just as someone who cares deeply and is normal about Solid Snake.
Yeah.
She says, I'm sorry your father never wanted you, which just kind of like, it is both an emotionally kind of like taut line, and also it is wrapped up in some of the cooler stuff with the storyline of the cloning program, which is just that a lot of this was done without Big Boss's consent. We get a lot of lore here.
Weird note from me, I honestly kind of like the story of Ava deciding to be part of this and wanting specifically to be the surrogate. Mm-hmm. Not to literally have this be her egg, but like to have carried Big Boss's children. I think it's interesting. If there wasn't everything else Hideo Kojima's doing,
yes,
this might be an interesting plot point, because I like the idea of wanting to have a relationship with someone and it just never happening. And it can never happen conventionally. And you just want anything you can get. And this was the connection she was able to make. This is almost interesting and almost compelling. And I think part of it comes down to the performance, because the performance describing these lines in this situation made me feel more for Eva in that moment than a lot of the other stuff that had been happening in this game.
We'll get more on how this works at the end, but she is basically laying the groundwork for the mechanism that Zero and Big Boss had different interpretations of what the boss wanted. Mm-hmm. The Zero's interpretation led to the Patriots. Big Boss's interpretation led to death. Yeah, Foxhound and
Military Sans Frontiers, all of it.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah. So then we get, honestly, this sequence is both funny and super awesome, where they're talking, and then you can do a little L1 sequence and see a guy in overcoat looking real weird, like walking across like a door frame, and then he walks right up, and the guy takes one of the guys takes the hat off of him, and we get another of the coolest robots in all of video games. These weird...
The dwarf geckos.
The dwarf geckos, they also call them scarabs. What if a ball had 3 creepy latex human hands? That's it. Yeah. They're so cool. I love them so much.
And what if 3 of them stood on top of each other in a trench coat to go to an R-rated movie?
Yeah.
Okay, like, I legitimately... between these guys and the suicide geckos, I was just like, oh yeah, drone warfare, that's a thing that we have now. Okay.
And it is really funny. It's like, it's not being interrogated as drone warfare in the way that we would like come to interrogate this stuff later. I think it's very funny that this is happening in 2008, and then the Obama presidency is something that we're all looking back on as like the drone warfare presidency.
Anyway, we love these little freaks.
Yeah,
I love them.
We love these little freaks.
We get, there's a lot of shitty things happening in this video game. My heart and the way that it is in my soul and in my throat when she takes the tarp off of the motorcycle is just a different kind of thing, isn't it?
The Milfer cycle.
We were talking about the sexualization of females and camera angles. The camera angles are so thirsty for this motorcycle, and I am too.
Yeah.
Congratulations to the first motorcycle to experience misogyny.
It's an old Triumph. It's an old Indian bike. It's normal about it.
Ava kicks absolute ass in the whole motorcycle sequence.
Yeah.
Hey, when does Eva get off a motorcycle?
We don't have to talk about that yet.
Never in my fucking heart.
Never in my heart. In my heart, she is always feeling the pain of the wind.
Weird that this is the greatest on-rail segment in any Metal Gear.
It is. It's funny because one of my favorite things about it is she will literally be such an asshole to you if you're bad at it. Like, she says the rudest shit. She's like, have you tried aiming? Like...
when your mom's tearing you down.
Yeah, exactly.
My beloved son, can you fucking get good?
Yeah.
I do love the one little Easter egg. Well, it's not an Easter egg, it's a mechanic. If you hug her while you're driving, you heal. Because Mama's warm embrace.
Because Mom.
Hug your mom.
Hug your mom while she nags you for missing the giant raven lady shooting missiles at you.
I always use auto aim.
Well, from what I understand, auto aim is how you get some of the cooler camera angles in this sequence. So
yes,
yeah.
Another thing that I think is lame, and I think is, do we have to rhyme here? Which is that fucking Eva gets impaled the exact same way she got impaled in Metal Gear Solid 3. It's so dumb.
Shut the fuck up,
Shut
Friday.
the fuck up. Alice likes it. I can see.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
I love it. I love the trope of you're in a constant hail of machine gun fire and one bullet hits you exactly where it did 60 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And in this case, Ava gets impaled the exact same place she got impaled, you know? So, it's interesting. I do wish, she seems like such a badass, and you get to see so little of it because she's injured immediately after this segment. And then from then on, she relies on Snake to walk. She's in a lot of pain. And we didn't even mention the whole MacGuffin of this act is the body of Big Boss.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, by the way.
That's here. That's been around. Do you remember Raiden went and got that on the grocery list?
Yeah, so one of the things that I didn't mention in the exposition dump that we get that I think is super, super interesting is another science fiction concept is just that Zero essentially won the dispute. There's more complications to this, of course, that we get later on. But what ended up happening was he didn't actually just want to assassinate Big Boss because Big Boss had become such a piece in what it means to do war, and that was what part of what was keeping Zero's ideology afloat. So he entombed him and enshrined him in this permanent undeath state as the biometric signature that unlocks the Patriots, which is it's on its face extremely contrived and convenient, but also I think it's so cool, and I think it's really clever the specific circumstances that are explained that go into what happened there.
They go into so much detail about how it has to do with the generation of nanomachines and so many other things that is the only way you could ever control the Patriots AI system is with the physical body, because unfortunately with cloning, you actually don't have as much same DNA in a cloning situation. That's not a real thing. Dolly is not, DNA-wise. And it's no, you need Big Boss's DNA.
Except for if it was Solidus for some reason, which we just don't need to worry about, I guess.
I do think this is interesting because what they're trying to do with the cringe fail religious metaphor stuff is both talk about how he's literally science fictionally the biolock on this system, but he is also the icon. He is a Christ-like figure in that he was a legendary figure, and then he has been interpreted the same way that Big Boss has been interpreted, or that Boss has been interpreted. And that
Snake has been interpreted.
Yeah,
they literally
everyone
say
is
you're
being
with a
interpreted.
real deal legendary hero, you know?
Yeah. Is this the act where Snake just says I'm just an old killer for hire?
Yeah, that's when he's talking to Meryl.
There is great character work in this act.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Ava doesn't really survive it.
No. And I also think that this is the lamest B&B member. This fight is just kind of nothing. She just hurls explosives at you. Yeah.
She flies, you're in a bell tower, she flies around, she bombs you. It's a nothing burger fight. She also has the stupidest backstory, whatever.
Yeah.
I still love her because she has the coolest of the suits Looking
It is an
wise,
incredibly
in my
cool
opinion.
suit.
Did you
Yeah,
guys
it
catch
is really
that?
cool.
Did you guys catch that they that one of the rebel groups at the very beginning had salvaged one of her wings and were like doing experiments on it? There's like a twitching wing in the back of like a cave.
I saw that. Yeah.
It's really cool looking.
Cool.
Yeah.
I actually think that it's a tie between Crying Wolf and Screaming Mantis for best suit for me, but I like this one a lot.
Yeah, it's really cool. I don't think that there is a suit design on B&B that misses. I think
Yeah.
they
That's what
all
I'll
have
say.
cool stuff going on.
They all
This
slap.
redeemed the Fury for me in a way that I didn't realize it did originally. Like, I think
See,
the Fury is better because of this interpretation of the
They at
Fury.
least modulated her voice like we wanted in the original.
Yeah, exactly. like, I feel like the Fury had more like cool astronaut shit going on, but Raging Raven actually had like an engaging fight and like some more stuff going on with her character.
And better music.
Well, some more stuff going on with the aesthetics of her character.
Yeah.
Again, Drebin calls us to give us her backstory because we couldn't have fit that in anywhere else. So
Then we get one of my favorite cutscenes of all time. Can anybody guess why this is my favorite cutscene?
because of the serve?
The most homoerotic thing I've ever seen in my fucking life.
Actually, it's because of that thing when Liquid stands on top of the boat and goes, no, 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 no.
We need to talk about the 30-minute title drop in this game. 30-minute sequence just for him to say the eponymous line, "Behold, guns of the Patriots!"
Absolutely nutso shit. Okay. Oh, it's all Liquid. Okay, there's some Ocelot in there.
Wait,
That's an Ocelot moment.
I have a here's my joke for it. So Shinobu has caught Yukihito down by the boats, by the docks, and suddenly the cops show up with all their spotlights.
Oh my god, yeah. It took me
This
a second.
scene in
but
Pat
yeah.
Labor 2 was so good, but this is, So what happens? Tell me the lore of what this is. What does he accomplish?
Well, Liquid wins. Liquid needed Big Boss to complete his control over SOP. So now that he has the Big Boss biometric code, he can lock everyone's guns, which is what he ends up doing.
Mm-hmm.
It is a great fucking moment because Meryl rolls out with like every PMC on the fucking planet, and then none of them
US
can
Army, the entire U.S. Army,
and then none of them can fire their guns.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Theater major moments.
Theater major moment.
This is
Also, before this, he absolutely kicks Snake's ass. It's actually pretty cool.
This fight is so fucking good.
Yeah.
So it's Liquid and Snake finally having a nice fight in front of their mom. And it just goes on for 20 minutes. And you keep thinking one has the upper hand, but it's always Liquid. And Liquid just is beating up this old man constantly.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
He keeps knocking his ass to the ground. But yeah, he won in this moment. Liquid
Old
won.
men fighting is just...
it's so funny. The amount of this game that's just devoted to really old men beating the shit out of each other is pretty funny.
Patrick Zimmerman, who voices Ocelot, by the way, just to give credit where credit's due, this is the role of his life. Like, he is having the most fun anyone has ever had doing anything.
Holy shit.
Like,
He is chewing this game.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
anyway, so that happens. And then we kind of...
I have
Okay.
a question about Ocelot, by the way, in this entire game.
Yeah, what's up?
What's he wearing the name tag for?
I don't know. I don't get that.
He's just wearing it the whole game. What is it for?
He's wearing a name tag?
the whole game.
It's not even, it's like, it's way bigger than a name tag. It's like a placard that he has
With
on his
picture
overcoat.
that he keeps on his overcoat.
It's really big. I don't
He
know.
has it the entire game until he takes the coat off.
I never noticed it, but I think I was too distracted by his orange gunners. Like, he was... his sunglasses.
Old man glasses?
But what we are dodging around talking about in this act is of two lamest parts of it, which is how Eva dies, and the lamest romantic moment since Naomi and Otacon, which is the reveal that Akiba is hot and Meryl and him are gonna have a thing.
Yeah. My note on the Johnny and Meryl thing is every single time Compet shows up in this game, it is so deeply unromantic and unsexy that I almost think it's trying to tell me a joke. I almost think it's being satirical.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that happened. Act 4?
Act 4.
The greatest act in this game.
Yeah, what's the... I want to know how Nico feels as someone who experienced Shadow Moses Island like 3 weeks ago instead of like 10 years ago like the rest of us.
Right?
You know what I mean?
You know what got me is apparently the timeline of this game, all of this has happened in 9 years.
Yeah.
So technically they experienced Shadow Moses like 3 weeks ago. No, I just, real quick, I have to say one of the things we find out is that Naomi apparently has pulled an Ocelot moment.
Yes.
And has betrayed you, and the way that she got away from the Nomad is Otacon says he didn't have his glasses on.
Because she told him he was handsome without his glasses on.
I fucking hate.
You're so handsome when you're blind and can't see that I'm doing subterfuge on you.
Also, hey, if you have a super spy plane where you keep your child that you and your husband have together, I don't know, maybe a security system on the door of your super military plane. I don't know.
You can't just rely on Raiden. His limbs are off again.
They got those little door opening detectors. They cost like $5.
What they don't show you is Sunny coordinating the cargo loading of a bunch of snap grid sprues for Raiden's new limbs.
I love the idea of her driving the little forklift to get things on. Little Sunny in her forklift.
I would believe Sunny is forklift certified. Anyway, in Act 4... they just do Shadow Moses Island again. There is a note I have, which is that I wrote the sentence: can Hideo Kojima write a new story or only continually embellish and recontextualize the one he has? Because it feels like every game that I have watched is just doing Metal Gear Solid again with new bits stapled on, but like, I was not joking when I made that there's always a lighthouse joke. Like, it's formulaic in the extreme to the point where it made me wonder if he had anything new to say. And the closest we got was the stuff in the beginning, right, about the military-industrial complex, but it keeps circling this drain.
I have two things to say about that. The first one is just that I think that I agree, and I think that part of that is just the fact that this game, that he didn't want to do this game, and that he felt that he already felt he had nothing more to say.
My interpretation... And the voice I hear in this is that Hideo Kojima hates his fan base. And a lot of my interpretation of the things he does in this game is he's like, yeah, I gave you back fucking Shadow Moses, you goddamn people. That's all you wanted in the first place was to play the first one again. And I think it's like part of him like raging against that, like, yeah, I'm just, because people are like, oh, but what about this plot point and this thing that you missed? And what about this? And he just had to keep recontextualizing things. And he's like, I don't know. They go back to Shadow Moses. I don't fucking care.
I don't know that I am that ungenerous with it. I think that the other thing I was going to say is just that I also think that like Metal Gear Solid 2, Hideo Kojima wanted to make a game that was aware of the fact that it was expounding on things that had already happened. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of these are reruns at things that he was trying to do in Metal Gear Solid 3 and really kind of fumbled. And I think that there will be a lot of conversation we can have at the end about how that he is aware of that. I think what ends he is aware of it. I don't think he's aware that it's a failing in the storytelling. Mm-hmm. But I will say, I really, really enjoy this act. No matter what, it's going to get me to go back to Shadow Moses in really good graphics, but also have it be like completely haunted and broken and like empty.
Literally haunted. There's ghosts you could take pictures of. You could do your fatal frame.
It's also haunted by the dwarf geckos. Those things like jump scare you. Like they are not fucking around.
They're everywhere. There's so many of them.
Now, did we have to go back to Otacon's office? I don't know.
And see the piss stain on the ground.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really like that little sequence of the two of them. Because especially...
That is the first time we see Mark III getting uppies.
Like, I just love the little conversation where they, like, reaffirm their love for each other. Mm-hmm. That's what I interpret this scene
I agree.
as.
It's a great Otasune scene. I think we probably could have had it on the Nomad or, I don't know. No, now that you say that, I actually guess I kind of get it. The piss stain is...
Yeah, the piss stain's too much. Let's be honest.
The piss stain is the only piss. It's the only piss we get, though. We had to have piss.
No, there's a couple of other piss moments.
There's piss?
Yeah, no, if you are in the park during the 1940s bit and you pose as a statue, a man comes over and pisses on you. Oh. There's a moment where there's a fisherman taking a piss off a dock that you can jump. Like, there are a couple of piss moments, but they're more incidental.
I missed all the piss moments.
Oh, there's PMC Pisser has one of the best mods next to him. So
yeah, he does.
You gotta go find Pissin' Man.
So we get one of the first actual legit Class A, I think this is a mech, classical mech, which is Sniper Wolf's outfit.
Yes.
Oh, you mean Crying Wolf?
Or yeah, Crying Wolf's outfit.
Her whole sniper setup,
Yeah.
the way
It's so fucking good.
Her setup is animalistic, right? It's a quadruped robot, and then the top opens and like pulls back into a sniper's nest. It is so cool. Her rifle moves up in front of her. Her rifle is the same railgun model as Fortune.
It's literally Fortune's gun. It's the same one. They recovered it and put it on here. That's why there's only one.
It's so cool.
But yeah, it's great. The whole fight, I love this. Not the greatest sniper fight in the game, but I'm going to put it at number 2 because it's so long.
Do you think that the end is better? Or
I'm putting this below the end
okay,
because in my mind, that is such like, that is the sniper game to me.
Yeah.
That is the sniper boss fight.
Yeah, and like her mech can pick up on your scent and you can catch her like scenting for you at different times. Like you are very much being hunted at this point, which is very cool.
And also the snow effects are great. Like the technology has finally made it actually feel like you're in, but it's also
a blizzard,
still the same
like a whiteout
map,
blizzard.
which is fucking wild to me because it's not actually that big because it's a PS1 size map.
Yeah.
But also the dogs remember you. The wolves remember you
Yeah,
from
all the
beforehand.
dogs remember you.
That's just great.
we have to get to the reason I wanted to play this game on the podcast.
Yes.
The most mech sequence of a mech game ever.
Well, before that, though, we have to get the other gay sex sequence out of the way.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Which is Naomi's here. Naomi's here, and guess what? She's wearing an ascot. One of the better outfits for her. Can't complain about it.
Unlike Sniper Wolf, her titties are not rated for the Alaskan winter.
She's wearing like a riding scarf kind of outfit. I kind of like the way it looks.
Yeah.
Nice pea coat. It's stylish.
Vamp is with her. Vamp is wearing nothing.
As he should be. His titties are rated for the Alaskan winter.
Nico, did you pick up that his legs were replaced with bionic legs that look like
No,
the
that's so funny. He got
Gekko
Darth Maul.
legs?
He got Darth
Yeah.
Maul. He also has the little talons that the frog people have, which I thought was fun.
Yeah.
That's fun. Raiden and Vamp have gay sex at this point.
So we are doing Shadow Moses again. Just plot real quick. Liquid wants Metal Gear Rex's railgun. He needs to do at the end of everything, guess what we need to do? We need to do a stealth nuke launch. So we need that.
Yeah.
Metal Gear!
Metal Gear! So he goes and we're doing that. Otacon says the line that when I was playing this game for the first time changed my life. He said, I think I can get this thing working. And so he's doing that. Raiden is fighting Vamp split screen while you are Snake trying to deal with all the geckos. It is breathtaking. Like, it is such a good thing. It is such a good fight.
All the suicide bomber geckos. Yeah, so good.
The geckos are scary. You have Fortune's railgun. Finally, what I have wanted since I played Metal Gear 2. I have Fortune's railgun. I am blowing up tanks. It is so good.
It pays off so well. It's exactly what we all wanted. It's so good.
No, I did love that.
And then, you get in the goddamn robot, Shinji.
Sorry. Real quick, we have to talk about an important augmentation to the mech that is Raiden.
Yes.
It's knife arms.
Yeah?
Vamp stabs him through the forearms and Raiden just kind of pushes him further in and starts knife fighting with the knives that are in his forearm.
Yeah. One of the things that's fun, if you guys, if listeners have like played this game and not like watched this fight, I would advise going watching this fight because it is actually really hard to keep track of everything Raiden's doing while you're doing your thing. And Raiden does some incredibly fucking cool shit. So
he's on his Devil May Cry shit.
He's on his Devil May Cry shit.
He just is. He's from a different video game.
By the way, this also introduces one of a mechanic that will come back a couple times, which I think is really fun, is that you have a syringe that suppresses nanomachine activity. In order to make Vamp mortal, you have to CQC him and use that syringe on him, which I just think is really fun.
Yes.
So Vamp is mortal, Vamp dies, Vamp gets gross and veiny. This is so it's so nasty.
We can all admit he was actually a vampire, right?
He was a vampire.
He was actually an immortal vampire. I don't care about the nanomachine explanation. He was an immortal vampire.
Naomi admitted that she invented vampires and that she is also a vampire because of cancer.
Yeah. She's like, he is not a vampire. He just can't die. And also, I am not a vampire, but I can't die because I have cancer. And it's like...
Hideo Kojima had to get this woman off screen.
Naomi,
she's been there too long.
Naomi, here's my tight 5 on Naomi Hunter, because I do still think while a lot of the stuff that happens in the mid run of this game made me feel like I wanted to leave my body with her. I do still think she is one of the coolest and most compelling, just like as a framing character in the series, which is just that she is someone who's done irrevocable harm to the world. She's done horrible, horrible, horrible things out of short-sightedness, out of like selfishness and a desire for revenge. And she by the narrative not allowing her to be a full person, which is a painful in a different way, she has not allowed herself to be a full person. And she takes it upon herself to take on the punishment and the responsibility for that, which I think is really interesting, because it is both what she does ends up being, you know, pretty inarguably heroic in a way, but also incredibly emotionally manipulative. She never once has apologized to Snake. Never once does she do that.
Well, and I think it's interesting because she's very clearly an echo of Otacon, right? It's like he created the Metal Gear Rex, so he created Metal Gears, and that has had horrible implications for the world. She created the nanomachines. I think that's why the writers felt like they could do the romance and have it work, because they're kind of, they're not narrative foils, but like they resemble each other in this interesting way. Yeah, I could see how she would be compelling from that angle. I just wish she got to exist as a living woman. There's a very funny moment here, because throughout this game during cutscenes, you can like hit X to see flashbacks to older games. If you do this during, I think, this sequence, Otacon has a dead girlfriend fan cam.
Yes.
Which is just so funny in light of how many women, I would love numbers on how many women actually survive this franchise, because they be dying.
It's really, really annoying, and I don't like that. You know, I think that it sucks, and a lot of the stuff that I just said does end up being hollowed out a little bit by the fact that she spends her last 5 minutes being inexplicably also still in love with Otacon, even though I think it would have been way better if that was a lie. But anyway.
Yeah. But none of that fucking matters, because we are piloting Metal Gear Rex with Raiden on board.
Yes.
We got the little Mark III in there. Life's fucking good. We need some beers.
Life's good. The boys are back.
The boys are back. Oh, dudes rock.
Dudes rock. You can do a little kicky on Metal Gear Rex. You can do some kickies.
Have you seen this whole fight?
Yeah.
This is Mechs to me.
Yes.
This is so Mechs. You can do a little steppy kick. You got the little charge laser. You can beat him up against buildings. The sense of scale is perfect. This whole thing is perfect.
I give up on my commitment to, if I ever see Hideo Kojima, to fight him one-on-one in person because of this sequence.
You're in Rex with its mouth open, and you got your little Mark III clinging. Oh, sorry.
And I think you have to pilot it with the mouth open, because when you fought Rex last time, you blew up the thing. So
the radar dome, and because it was just left there.
Yeah.
The radar dome's still broken.
Now,
so
you have to first fight through a giant hallway full of geckos and frogs, and Raiden does some cool stuff.
So good.
It felt so good. And when I say that to a huge extent, the entire Metal Gear project was me making Nico do the other games so that this sequence would have the emotional burden that it does.
So that I would write this sentence. All right, I give up. I'm a robot fucker first and a woman second. That is the line from my notes. Everything is forgiven.
Mine is just, we finally got the answer, which is better, Rex or Ray.
Yeah.
Oh, stand for your girl.
I can't. However, reason number 4, Metal Gear Ray is the best Metal Gear. You come out on the fucking landing platform, and she does the entrance.
Yes.
Oh.
She is here. She's here.
Entrances of all time for a mech.
Yeah.
She swim out of the water. She jump out of the water. She skin on the ground like she's a beached fucking seal. And then she gets up and beats your ass.
Yeah. This is hard.
I need the gunpla.
Yeah.
I need the gunpla.
Yeah. I do too. I'll both of these.
Okay, first of all, I need the gunpla. I need to be able to open Rex's mouth, and I need a little tiny Raiden that I can put. Though at some point, Raiden jumps out to try to do a heroic thing and just gets buried under rubble, which I hated because he did that for no reason. Anyway.
Yeah, he won 27 hours himself for like no good.
I haven't lost enough limbs yet.
Yeah.
No, it's a reference to the old him sacrificing psycho whatever, right?
Yes, the cyber ninja's getting crushed. Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, but he gets crushed again later.
Yeah, he gets crushed.
Crushed again later.
Well, my favorite part of this fight is the fact that you utilize the fact that your cockpit's open to do a really violent mouth grab on Metal Gear Ray's neck and slam it into the ground. It is so fucking cool.
Maneuvers you only do if you're fucking dying, because that is your cockpit.
Yeah.
Snake's just like, yeah, what the fuck ever.
Yeah. This is just this is brothers. This is
brother.
Brother.
Yeah, by the way, this game has the brothers and the liquids of all time.
Yeah.
Liquid.
It's so good. This whole fight is so good. And then and then a ship shows up. I'm sorry, did I hallucinate this? Is there Mount Rushmore, but with bosses on this ship?
Hey, Hideo Kojima, square up with me right now. What are we talking about? I thought we were going to talk about how this fucking ship is literally a dildo with a clit fucking...
oh my god.
Oh, but it's a dildo with Mount Rushmore on it. This game franchise is not real. It was a fever dream. $60 million human dollars. Okay?
No, this is important.
Okay.
Oh, also, just so you know, the canon name for this is Mount Snakemore.
No.
That's the canon name.
No, I'm signing off.
But there's not just one ship that shows up. There's another one. The popular movie Battleship, starring Rihanna, shows up.
This, with some really unfortunate caveats, gets to be Mei Ling's victory run. Mei Ling is so fucking awesome in this game.
Yeah, unfortunately, the camera cannot resist Mei Ling being a woman, but other than that, she gets to have some really cool moments.
Besides the breathing scene, what a competent character.
And then we get aside from the fact that, like, there's stupid shit with Mei Ling and her butt and everything in this, this is one of the most competent, like tense, urgent, like, briefing and setup and, like, sortie things I've, like, ever. It's
you
so
feel
good.
The urgency in this game at this point of how we gotta be fast.
And there's almost something cool here. Like I said again, there's like the subtext of so much of like Liquid picking up women off of war fields and stuff is that women are an underutilized resource in war who suffer as much as men and yet aren't deployed in combat. And the story of like Naomi and Mei Ling after Metal Gear Solid 1 is they get kind of brushed aside. And Mei Ling gets put on this nothing posting on the Missouri out in Hawaii or whatever. But then she gets to have this moment where, because the Missouri was pre the ID lock and stuff, it's the only battleship that they could use to fight Outer Heaven.
Yeah.
And she is its captain. And like that is almost a theme. Unfortunately. It's not quite a theme, but it is cool to think about.
She has a great moment though with like a green officer where she talks about how like that was honestly just like a breath of fresh air to me.
Yeah, it was really good.
But also this plan is batshit and it fucking rules. How do we get people onto this thing? Let's just fire them at it. Yeah.
And who should we fire onto it? Well, definitely put Snake. Definitely put Meryl.
We get our first of many. People are gonna say this so much. Hey guys, real quick. I think that hallway might be lined with microwaves.
Hey.
I think it might be. It's unclear.
Did you know that hallway is covered in microwaves?
We don't say it enough.
Now, follow-up question. Why is it covered in microwaves?
'Cause we gotta cook Snake's whole glowing ass.
Follow-up. If we're gonna send the Mark III anyway, why do we need to send anybody?
Because the Mark III needed bodyguard.
Okay.
Yeah, because Otacon can't do anything without Snake.
Yeah, also that.
And we have the budget for one robot, guys. One robot.
Yeah.
Well, we had two. This is the Mark III.
Do you know how much I would have loved if like Sunny had reprogrammed a Gekko and then just like had a Gekko?
Yeah, bro. No, to give Alice credit, this is classically a thing that's brought up is like, why the fuck did Snake need to do this? Like, they do put the dwarf geckos in there as a reason. It is a little bit thin on the ground, and it is kind of weird that it justifies it by having it be happening like after the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
However, hallway scene of all time. Anyway, we can't get there yet.
Oh yeah,
and there's a lot of hallway, so don't worry. We got enough hallway.
We got some hallways.
Can we talk about the coolest BB fight?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's time for Screaming Mantis.
It's time for Screaming Mantis.
Return of... I love that the Sorrow and Psycho Mantis are in this.
Yes.
Fight. It's incredibly cool.
It's good.
Psycho Mantis, so Screaming Mantis has had psychic control over the other BBs, helping regulate them. Now you're facing her one-on-one, basically, except it's not one-on-one because she has 2 dolls. One is a doll of Psycho Mantis, and this allows her to control the living psychically, and one is a doll of the Sorrow, and this allows her to control the dead psychically. It's pretty crazy.
It's so cool. She's like, remember that the frogs like their nanomachines self-immolate when they die, so she's like hurling the burned bodies of frogs at you. Like, it's so visually stunning.
But yeah, this fight is interesting. I think, like you said, about a lot of stuff, it's cool, but it goes on a little too long.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Well, okay, I think the fight's great. I love everything about it. I do find it very sad that we find out that Psycho Mantis has been pulling the B&B strings the whole time. My favorite thing is that anytime you die in the game, you can see the strings that are attached to you from the beginning. I think that's fucking cool. Puppet Master and Metallic Rouge was cooler. But no, I think it's good. I love the mech, the mech of it all. I love the entire sequence, both versions.
I really like all of the stuff that happens with, like, the auxiliary limbs on the suit and how Psycho Mantis, like... So, obviously, Screaming Mantis gets shelled, and you know how everybody else had, like, ass and vag shots? Don't worry, we got to the tits. So, there's a whole bunch of awful tit shit here.
Why are her tits, like, undulating?
Mantis. I don't fucking know. Like, it's the same jiggle physics that they applied to Rose that you see sometimes. Even though she's wearing a modest sweater, her tits are just going off when you call her on the codec.
Yeah.
But anyway, after all that's done, she's shelled out of the suit and you, like, defeat her. Psycho Mantis possesses her suit, which is a really cool visual.
That is so cool.
It's a really cool visual.
And it sucks because, like, you could have had that and just not had the thing where he was, like, in control. Like, I don't know why he had to be the guy and you know.
Yeah, it would have been really cool if he was a lingering ghost in the facility and, like, you kill her and he's able to seize the suit.
One of the things that I think is really funny, though, is the whole game, you can have the little flashbacks where you press the X button.
Yeah.
Psycho Mantis tries to read your memory card and can't because the PlayStation 3 has internal memory, and the flashback sequence there is just of a PlayStation 1 memory card. It's so funny.
Okay, so there's the 3. So there's that. Then there's the controller, and the flashbacks are just pictures of PS1 controllers.
Yeah.
And then he complains about you getting better at things, and then it flashes pictures of Hideo Kojima.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Psycho Mantis is defeated by the Sorrow, aka shittier PS3 hardware.
Yeah.
Well, the internal memory is good, but I can't believe they literally took Rumble out of the controller. That's so dumb.
I do like the Sorrow appearance here. I think it really encapsulates that
it's so
the Sorrow was looking out for you to save women, and you did it.
The Sorrow was looking after women.
100%. Ask the boss.
Since the Sorrow fell in love with the boss, he has been a fan of women.
He's drinking that respect women juice even in the grave.
Yep.
Another cool, just to bring back a cool mechanic I think is neat, is that, again, Meryl is here, and she can get possessed by the thing again, but you can also CQC her and use a syringe to get them off of her.
Yes!
It's very, very good. Notably, this is not something that is remarked upon until a couple minutes later. She cannot possess Johnny. Where is Johnny? Who the fuck knows? But she can't possess him.
He got fucking fired at the ship, and it looked like he went overboard, and then apparently he didn't. And I will not accept him as the SLG pick. I'm sorry, this is my hard stance. I will not accept Johnny as the pick. I hate him.
Once you walk in one-handing an anti-tank rifle, you are no longer a special little guy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You have to at least lose 5 more limbs.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay. But I also want to talk about One of the ththings on my bucket list is to be in a losing gunfight running out of ammo and a hot person comes and hands me 4 magazines of 50 caliber.
By 4, do you mean like 17? Because
well, he gives 4 to start and then he dumps his bag.
Yeah.
That was a funny bit.
Yeah.
I think I would have liked the stuff with Meryl and Johnny more if it hadn't been a romance, because I am who I am.
Yeah.
And if it had been something like Mei Ling and the Green Recruit, like these women were brushed aside after the events of Metal Gear Solid and they became really competent. I think it would have been a really cool story if Johnny had just become a more competent officer because over time she was mentoring him more.
Yeah, my script doctor here is I think it would have been really visually, or not even just visually, but visually too, really like compelling and satisfying if they had become kind of a mirror of Naked Snake and the Boss.
Yeah.
Where it was maybe with a little bit less of the psychosexual stuff that was happening there. But like I liked her as like a commanding officer and a mentor. Yeah, exactly.
That would have been cool. Instead, it's a romance and it's Mr. and Mrs. Smith shit. And
this whole, I fucking love it. I want to have a big wedding, Johnny, as they're gunning down frogs and they're doing these cool fucking action sequence things. I want to wear a dress and have flowers.
I've had enough of the hard military woman secretly wanting all the feminine stuff. Like, it's not subversive.
But we also learn Johnny's amazing backstory, which is that he was on Shadow Moses Island. He was the guard you beat up in MGS1, and he's been in love with Meryl ever since because he saw her ass. He gave her more toilet paper in the cells because he thought she was hot.
I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna make him real, and I'm gonna kill him.
Greatest romance of all time. I
do like some of the stuff that's happening here. This is where Meryl reloads with the crook of her knee.
Oh, yeah.
She does a bunch of cool tactical shit. There is a sequence that I both hate and love where they're reloading each other's guns that I think is fun.
Yeah, and that's a really cool sequence.
I want to be in the mocap room when they did some of this shit. Like, I want to see, okay, so you're gonna spin this way and do this. And they're like, what? Yeah, just do it. It'll be a little cool.
By the way, the whole time they're doing this, what is Snake doing? Walking down a hallway.
A really long-ass hallway while bits happen to him.
Yeah.
Okay, this is one of the cool things with how they do the in-game cut screens, because I remember playing this and it's great. You're crawling down the microwave hallway.
Yeah.
And they take the top half of the screen to show you, like, this is very action movie penultimate moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have the Missouri fighting the Rexes. And yes, you.
Reason number 6, Metal Gear Ray is the best Metal Gear. It does a very cool jump up onto the Missouri, and it's really scary and really, really cool.
It's really cool.
Like, you feel the fear in everybody.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are we gonna do? We're a battleship.
Part of this fight scene, too, is that Raiden showed up again with no armor.
Hey, frogs, you don't have to wait. You can just attack.
They have such a long conversation, and then the camera pans, and there have been 2 frogs standing there the whole time.
They're having a whole conversation of you go ahead, you go turn it off, and the frogs who have put away their guns that they have to pull out machetes for honor. I don't fucking know. And
I do think it's very funny that they're having an argument that's like, I'll be the pro tag. No, I'll be the pro tag. No, I'll be the pro tag.
It's also the thesis of it, which is, no, let old people die. Our generation needs to just die. You have things to do, Raiden.
Well, I think a lot of what's it's a little bit like diegetically frustrating to me is just that nobody seems to really be listening to Snake when he says he's terminally ill and just like wants to live the rest of his life the way he wants to. Let him smoke. Let him go to the microwave hallway. Like, come on. Like,
he is living his best life when he's piloting with the cockpit open doing stunts.
Yeah.
I will say it is like, to be open and honest on the pod, living with somebody who has a terminal diagnosis who decides or has no treatment with it, and like, you want them to care because you want to expand your time with them. And Snake is like, no, just let me continue to be a soldier doing soldiering shit. I'm gonna fucking die anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Is like,
it's hurtful.
What an experience that David Hayter acts so well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad we didn't have him for 5. This acting is too good.
Okay, I have to talk about about how Snake is Raiden's daddy and parentage, and I love them so much, which is that Earlier, Raiden is trying to convince Snake to let him go to Shadow Moses with him, even though he's still dismembered. What's actually happening is he's
on dialysis.
He's on cum dialysis, yeah. And Raiden's talking about how he doesn't think Rose is real and he says something about like the darkness. I wish. And Snake says, "You were the lightning in that rain," which is a line that is really good to me, and I love Snake, and Snake cares about Raiden very, 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 very much.
The dad he never had.
Yeah, this brings back the good moment in the hallway in Metal Gear Solid 2 when Snake gives Raiden his sword for the first time. Like, oh. Men be in hallways.
Men be in hallways. And then Raiden shows up in the hallway with the sword in his mouth and says, "I am lightning, the rain transformed," and he has Colonel Volgan powers now. Everything. It's everything to me. I am so obsessed with it.
I love him.
I love him. Yeah.
I love him.
And then 30 more show up.
They're just standing there waiting to get elected. Yeah.
Liquid has full control, and he wants this confrontation, so he let it happen. But that's like the lore. Like, people find explanations for this when they think about it.
Snake is getting irradiated in a fucking hallway. He's getting toasted. And the fights that are going on.
Yeah. I was gonna say the way his like suit pops open and like phrase is just so good, and like
he wears a muscle suit and it first burns off the octo camo and then starts destroying the muscle memory in it, and
and also his ass is glowing.
His ass is glowing.
And then you get the split sequence of all the fighting happening. It's like real. It's just it's cinema. Also, this is something I don't know if you get, Nico, without playing it, but you are having to hammer on that fucking triangle button until your finger cannot take it anymore. Like they did this very deliberately. Like by the time he got to the end of the hallway, I was sitting there like trying every position I could to stay comfortable while still hammering on it. Like they are doing this very deliberately. It's very good.
Oh, and it hurts your hand intentionally. Like you can die very easily in that segment.
Yeah.
I died the first time I ever played it because I wasn't smashing hard enough. It's very good.
And you get into a digital graveyard because ever since we made Metal Gear Solid 3, we decided this would be a motif.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
This server room looks fucking immaculate, though. Like, such a cool concept, in my opinion.
Hey, guys who work in technology, you can make tech look like anything.
You can.
Why is it not a cool-ass graveyard?
Why is it not a graveyard?
What are we doing?
Okay, I've turned around on it. Anyway,
I do want to say, before we go too far, the drip in this game. The Volgan trench coat that Raiden has when he comes up is so fucking iconic. Every bit of drip in this game I love. That's it. But the Volgan trench coat that Raiden wears is the greatest thing in this game.
Special shout out to Snake's abaya and hijab in the very beginning. Yeah. I thought that was very modest and beautiful of him.
Women.
The little arm robots are gonna overtake Snake. He's not gonna be able to hold him off. Oh, but we did it.
And we hacked it with the power of dead women. We've got Emma's code and Naomi's code.
Sunny has two moms and a stepmom named Naomi.
Shit, I forgot a really good line about the egg cooking and everything. When Naomi's dying, Raiden says, "Sunny wanted me to tell you something," and Naomi says, "What?" And she says, "I cooked them right," talking about the eggs and the worm cluster, and it breaks me every time. I think it's actually really good. Like,
Raiden, here's what you have to do. Sorry, Raiden, you have to divorce that crazy bitch. That boy, don't even worry about him. He's weird. Don't worry about him. We can't talk about him. You already have a child. You are the coolest uncle in the world to the coolest niece in the world. Just hang out with Sunny.
I always think of him as the family of a Solid Snake, which is his husband Otacon, his son Raiden, and his adoptive daughter Sunny.
Sunny and Raiden are siblings for sure. Big brother energy.
Big brother, little sister.
And they've got that energy of like the really older sibling and the really younger sibling, where you're almost uncle and niece, but like you're also related. You've got that relationship.
I have that. I am that person in my family.
And then Eva is grandma, and like, oh, I want there to be. They keep trying to do found family through straight marriage.
Pause.
Yes.
I have to give Nico a placard, a liquid snake or liquid ocelot trench coat ID placard that says Metal Gear fan, because you just said the thing that inaugurated you as an official 100% brain rot Metal Gear fan, which is I want them to be a family.
Yeah, you I'm sick. I'm sorry.
You're sick now. You're sick now.
You've been psycho-manipulated into liking the Metal Gear series.
I'm so upset. I just want them to hang out. I just want Raiden to suggest that they've got eggs in instant noodles. Why don't they put some fried eggs on the instant noodles?
I know.
That's all I want.
I know.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're right though. You should say it.
I'm holding them so gently.
Okay, we have crossed into the realm of mythopoetics kind of because we've inexplicably landed on top of fucking Outer Haven for some reason. Like we're just here now. I love the implication that Otacon has like brought you up here and then left you here to go get a medic when he could have just brought you to a medic.
I know! He got in the helicopter and left you to fight Ocelot.
Did we do the Naomi explains that she destroyed the Patriots?
Oh yeah, Naomi had an Ocelot moment. She did triple, quadruple cross.
What is the virus called that they put in to the Patriots?
Okay, I'll read my note. Fox Alive. Shut the fuck up, I hate this series.
That's it. They backdoor it. Naomi's whole goal at the end was to completely destroy the system, not so she was using Liquid as a way to get in to destroy the system. All of this was to do that, is to destroy the Patriots.
Goodbye, Metal Gear Ray.
Goodbye.
We've destroyed the Lolly Lule Low, and now I can say the Patriots. Chip. Anyway, let's talk about the greatest ending to any video game ever made. I feel old man punches on my skin as we put drugs into each other, as we go through the entire series in a beautiful, homoerotic, the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I cry every time. Let's talk about the ending fight.
You are quite literally punching Liquid out of Ocelot.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
And it is glorious and stupid, and I love it so much.
So it starts with a cinematic fight where you're fighting, and you're both injecting yourselves with the nanomachine thing that gives you guys a little boost to keep going, because you're both dying from Fox die right now. You're both very much dying. Anyway, so the fight just starts out with the cutscene, then it rolls into the actual fight, and here's why this fight fucking owns. It goes through 4 stages. The first stage, you have MGS1 health bars. He is named Revolver Ocelot, and at the start of each segment, he gives a cry as the version of himself in that game, and then you fight with the fighting style of that game. Mm-hmm. So, like, you do the first one where he kind of is running around and getting away from you and squirrely. Then you get to the second one. The music changes. It's a banger. The health bars are different. He's now Liquid Ocelot, and he mostly punches you with the one arm, right? His Ocelot arm.
He mostly punches you with the Liquid arm.
Yeah.
And then you get to the peak, and this is when I cry every time. Snake Eater comes on.
Snake Eater plays He's Just Ocelot.
Yep.
And he gives you the finger guns before he fights you.
He gives you the finger guns, and if he gets you in a grapple...
What does he do when he gets you in a grapple?
If he gets you in a grapple, he kisses you, and it restores his stamina.
Yep.
And then you
construct intricate video games that allow you to touch the skin of other men.
The best part is then you go to the 4 after you defeat him, and in the 4-1, it's a cutscene with QTE buttons. Like, you're just pressing X to beat him to death, but you don't have any prompts. It's just a little cutscene, which I really love.
It's self-aware.
And then he tells you what was really happening, which was that he basically wanted Ocelot was doing an Ocelot, everyone. Who could have guessed it?
Final Ocelot moment.
And he says, "You're pretty good," and I cried.
Yeah.
I love Ocelot so much. It's really, really unfortunate for me.
Well, okay, so here's why I love this. Because, okay, we people in the MGSosphere will talk a lot about how much of this was psychotherapy and how much of this was actually Liquid. How much of this was him fooling the Patriots by taking on a double personality.
And a third thing, which is how much did Hideo Kojima realize the possessed arm thing was fucking stupid, so he did everything he could to walk that back.
I don't think he thought he was going to have a third game or a fourth game.
Yeah.
But his last line before he dies is the Ocelot from the first time you meet him. You're pretty good. And then he dies. He becomes Ocelot in death.
Mm-hmm.
And he finally, all of the masks, all of the layers, it's back to him from his original form. He has returned to origin. He has, like everyone else in the series, returned to zero. And I just love it. I cry when he dies because honestly, best character of all time.
Hero. This epilogue is 71 minutes long.
Oh my god.
Somehow both remember it being longer and being shorter than it was at the same time.
Meryl is getting ready to get married to Johnny because that is happening to us. And every part of her wedding fit is jank except she's wearing an off-the-shoulder dress and she actually has fucking shoulders. She is built.
She's ripped. She also has a gun. It's so white trash.
She's wearing a gun and a tiara to her wedding, which is just, that seems like the most like, what does a Western wedding look like?
Exactly. This is American weeaboo right here is this wedding. I'm crying. It's so funny.
She looks like she's at her quinceañera.
She's like getting ready in front of a mirror, has this like heartfelt conversation with Campbell, who gives a fucking shit. But then you turn to the camera and you can just see into the fucking plane the whole time where everyone's standing. They're all like awkwardly looking the other way, like, should we be watching her get dressed? She's just getting dressed right there. Like, generally the bride is in another room, but she's just completely visible. That's it. I always find that hilarious.
But who cares about any of that because Drebin's here.
Yeah, honestly.
Drebin talks about a cool thing, which is just that, like, of course the Patriots were going to try and manipulate things so they could come out on top. Of course Meryl was working for the Patriots. She couldn't say Patriots. We dropped that earlier. She couldn't say it.
He said,
so,
hey, why are they called Rat Patrol 1?
It's an anagram.
He literally draws it with chalk on the ground so you get it.
I fucking hate it.
You don't like this? I kind of think it's neat.
I do too, because I love it in a Hideo Kojima way.
It's kind of dumb. The drawing the chalk is kind of dumb. I like the idea that a lot of the stuff that was happening in this game was an attempt by the Patriots to come out on top that would ultimately fail.
I do feel like this moment is a perfect encapsulation of Hideo Kojima not trusting his audience, though. Because there were people in forums who were like, if you rearrange the letters in Rat Patrol 1 or whatever, you'll get Patriots. But, like, he had to show us. He had to literally show us. And I'm just like, you've got to have more confidence in your audience than this.
Okay, let's move on to the final closing thing of Solid Snake's journey in general.
You know how you thought, hey, there are a couple threads left unopened? Hideo Kojima said, no, I'm wrapping every fucking shit up right now.
Okay, is this true?
What?
My understanding is that the ending where Snake is implied to have blown his brains out was the first ending.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
The first ending... we're not saved yet, because the first ending was Snake and Otacon turning themselves in for terrorism and being executed in public. That was the first ending.
What?
Yeah.
That was the first take on this.
I don't know what the fuck Hideo was thinking when he was first drafting this, but this was like a famous, like, the entire studio was like, we're not doing that, Hideo. Like, that's not happening.
No.
Anyway, what actually happens here is, I think, something that maybe at this point a lot of people are fatigued by the length of this shit, but I thought this was like so good. Like I love this speech so much. This
speech and how it's delivered and who it's delivered by. This is what makes this game go from I mean, it's a great solid game, but this is where I was like, okay, Metal Gear Solid is over. We did it. I have no more questions. We've ended the saga.
Big Boss showed back up just to die.
Yeah.
Like, that is...
They had to show him on screen. Hideo said, if I don't show him dying on fucking screen, people are going to be like, he's going to come back. Because they keep bringing him fucking back.
I will say, unfortunately, despite my general disdain for this series, when Snake turns around and sees Big Boss, that was kind of a, oh shit. Like, even for me.
I get chills every time.
Even for me. I was like, oh, fuck.
Boss has Zero as like this sad old man in a wheelchair. He has the Patriot. He has a cool jacket on.
3 old as fuck dudes standing around.
Richard Doyle voicing Big Boss here is doing Richard Doyle's takes here. Some of his line reads are immaculate, bro. He did such a good job.
Yeah. I'm tired of the talking at me, but It is good delivery.
So, okay, I wanna say this, which is, this goes back to a lot of what I've said over the last few games, which is, and very relevant right now, which is, people want a big bad guy they can point to. They want everything to make sense and everything to be controlled and have strings. And that's what the Patriots are in this. They are very convenient for AI that you can just upload a virus and save the world. and it's all controlled by this guy named Zero.
They're not products of a system. Yeah.
And Zero, who is the person we've been trying to chase since the Peace Walker incident, is just a fucking old guy kept alive for his biometrics. And it's great in a way that, like, well, at the end of the day, this was made by feeble old men. And yeah, there's a big baddie, but also, like, it is so convoluted to have it all literally be the Patriots they really were just pulling all the strings, and we can just defeat them, which is like, it would be great if the world was that simple, right?
Yeah.
If
Sure.
right now we could just go out and stop all war across the world by uploading.
One thing I think it's important not to lose in this is just that, like, that is the fantasy of a story sometimes. But yeah, I agree with you.
But I also love that the fact that they literally wheel out Zero in a wheelchair. This person who, if you played Peace Walker, you know that if you played 5, Zero is bigger than life. I mean, you played 3, so you kind of know, right?
I will say this was really weird for me because having only watched 3, I mean, I knew that Zero played a role. I knew that he lied to you. This came out of left field for me. I'm missing the information, right? And so, like, as a new fan, it felt like such a plot contrivance because there hadn't been any of the scaffolding work that's apparently going to take place in, like, Peace Walker and 5. And I'm missing some of it because I don't have the codec calls from Metal Gear Solid 3. But I'm just saying, for me as a first-time experiencer of this shit with Zero just came out of nowhere, and I had no emotional attachment to it, and I didn't care.
I do want to say I've only watched the cutscenes in Peace Walker. I think what you're really missing are the codec calls in 3, because Zero is kind of a presence in the impetus for Metal Gear Solid 5, but he's not in that game. Like, that's not really what it's about.
Yeah. Mostly it's hey, Zero decided to do the Patriots thing, and Boss decided to do the Outer Heaven thing.
Yeah.
That's really the main narrative. That's it. Is like, these were two ideologies, the West and the East, and Zero won. And that's why we're where we're at.
Anyway, there's just some old as fuck men here. And at some point, I was tired. There was too much shit happening. There was still too much telling happening. And I just was like, can it end?
Yeah. I totally get that. I like didn't like that Big Boss was here the first time I played this game, and then by the end of the speech I was like, we're back. Because I think
yeah, I was pissed. I was like, they brought him back, you motherfuckers.
Yeah,
he's dead.
But I think one of the coolest things that this does, other than kind of like, this is kind of a cheap attempt to do some back lifting that Metal Gear Solid 3 should have done.
100%.
But I also I love the concepts being deployed here. I just love this story. I think it's so interesting how, he says a person can be made to play a specific role in specific circumstances. And that is literally his one sentence summary of Metal Gear Solid 3. And I think that's interesting. Mm-hmm. I also think that he says the thesis that Zero had, which is that war is galvanizing to people, both in the sense that it stimulates economies and it also creates culture and drives culture, because people are the way humans react when they have something to fight for or they have to root for a side in something is an interesting thing to talk about. And I think that him calling Zero's interpretation of that being the Patriots a colossal error in judgment is both an incredible line delivery and also just a really interesting way to end what we were talking about here. And yeah, it's convenient. It's contrived. Mm-hmm. I think what the story was interested in all along is just kind of what he's laying out here. And I think that part of the stuff that's fatiguing about it is like, Kojima's also fatigued because y'all couldn't, he's fatigued because he didn't do a good enough job saying this in 3 and 2, I think. And also people didn't get enough of it. And so they were being annoying about it. And that was kind of like why it feels like it's tired.
Because everything has to be explained.
Yeah.
So what this looks like, if you muted this whole speech, what this looks like is a man dying for like 20 minutes.
Yeah. And then the line deliveries between ever since the day I killed the boss with my own hands, I was already dead, and the world would be better off without snakes. I cannot help it. I was sobbing. This was yesterday.
There was, I will say, for all the blocking issues that I had with this and how, like, Big Boss, like, falls over 8 times so that they can get down to him dying on the grave.
Yeah.
The moment when he tries to light his cigar and he drops the lighter and he just has it in his mouth and then it falls out of his mouth and it looks like he's not gonna get to smoke. And then Snake is, like, he like is jolted and he rushes to like light the cigar and make sure that he can get this last smoke in. That was so emotionally put together with the mocap and everything. That was incredibly well executed. There was so much emotion in that. Hideo Kojima, there was so much emotion in that. You showed it to me. You didn't have to tell me that Snake was deeply affected by this scene.
Yeah.
He's good at visuals when he decides to use them.
Yeah, I agree completely. But hey, this is all okay because what happens at the end? Marriage.
The last call is between Otacon and Old Snake.
And Otacon says, I want to spend the rest of your life with you.
Yeah.
And that's gay.
I think for those characters, it's a great ending.
Anyway, we have to do something actually extremely important. What is that, Alice?
Yes.
We gotta rate these goddamn mechs.
Shit, we almost forgot to rate the mechs.
The story was too good.
Alice, what is your rating of the mechs in this game?
Here are the things that I'm going to consider mechs for the rating of this. I am going to consider, in order of appearance, the Mark II, I consider a mech. The Gekkos, I consider a mech. The Blushing Beauty Brides, I consider a mech. I consider Rex, I consider Ray, and I consider Arsenal Gear 2 Outer Heaven a giant mech-based ship.
Penis.
So that's all I'm going to consider. So kind of a long list. I don't consider the little arm guys. I consider those autonomous drones. I can't see those being controlled by somebody. But and how can I forget Raiden? I consider Raiden a mech in the same way I consider Power Armor a mech. So to go through them, I think this game has such a consistent style and what it is going for with its near high tech is what I will call it. We see a lot of technology in this game of like when Hideo was making it, he was thinking of what would science and warfare look like in 10 years. So you see them using XM8 rifles as the main U.S. Army battle rifle. Guys, that one didn't win the contract, but it was up for consideration at the time of this game. That's why they used it, because they thought it was going to be the future battle rifle. Same with the Lavs, which were replaced because, they're literally fighting in the Middle East and nobody has anti-mine MRAPs. They have just regular APCs with flat bottoms. It shows like how this was made early in that conflict and how where war has developed compared to where this went. But you have the Beauties and the Beast, which I love all of that Mecha Musume. I think each of them is so unique and their tools are unique. And the fact that there's only one of each because they had to reuse the weapons from... I just love them as an amalgamation of the series. And then we have the Rex and Ray fight, which when Brian said we're going to do this as a mecha, that is all I could think about because that is so peak mecha to me. That entire sequence, the big steppies, the big stomps, the sense of scale, being in an open cockpit with my little gay twink ninja and my little robot as we fight my brother who's in his swimmy boy, and then Mount Snakemore comes out of the water, and then the battleship Missouri, and we're all fighting, and there's lasers. And it's just, when I played Metal Gear Solid 1, one of the biggest things that I was sad about is, you don't get to pilot a mech. When I played Metal Gear 2, you don't get to pilot a mech. When I played 3, you don't get to pilot a mech. And then 4 said, I know exactly what everybody has wanted to do for every one of these games, and it's get in Rex and feel what Rex looks like. Sans the railgun, which is literally only to launch nukes, so you don't need it for a mech combat.
Yeah.
But it is so iconic and built up and got to it. And would I say this is as great without the other games? Yes, I would, because it's so fucking good. And they feel huge. It's not like Armored Core 6, where they're kind of light and flighty, which is its own joy. Everything feels clunky. It feels like mechs. It's like you're in the Shagohod. If you had little drills, it'd be cool. And then I love Raiden. I love the Mark II. Every bit of the mech in this hits me in such a military, industrial, war economy way that I am just in love with it. And if I was ID coded to pilot any of these, I would. For me, the mechs in Metal Gear Solid 4 are a 10 out of 10.
Okay.
Nico?
I can only echo a lot of what you said. When we initially did the What Is Mechs bonus episode, formative, like cornerstone of this podcast, the What Is Mechs episode, I said that one of my favorite things about mechs is a moment that makes you go, fuck yeah. Like, whatever it may be, but just like a moment that really grips you and makes you go, fuck yeah. And when you are in Rex and the cockpit is open and your beautiful son is crouched in there and your wonderful husband is on remote with the little robot and all that was missing was some beers, I said, fuck yeah. Like, hell yeah. And like I've said earlier in the episode, the mechanical aesthetic that it is working with in this game is fantastic. For all of my many myriad deeply felt issues with the BB Squad, their technology and the weapons and the suits that they were working with were incredibly cool. Like, I love pretty much everything mechanical that is happening here. I think this is a 9 for me. Like, it's really, really good. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that keeps me from doing a 10 is spite.
Yeah, that's fair.
Hideo Kojima.
That's fair.
I need the gunpla. I need Rex in a way that is not reasonable.
Nico told me privately, like a couple weeks ago, that Rex had kind of snuck up the ladder for her in terms of like how much she liked it just since Metal Gear Solid 1. And I was like,
if we're talking about corrections,
oh, no.
If I had to correct my score for Metal Gear Solid 1, I would put it at a 7.
Yeah.
Because Rex has become such a favorite for me, which I think I gave that game a 3. So like, that is how much it has risen in my esteem.
I agree with everything said so far with one big pushback, which is just that I do think that this does not land without having the intimate knowledge of the other contexts. Because that's to me, true. And this is a hill that I've died on this whole podcast, which is just that mechs cannot be divorced from like the realities in which they operate. Like that is part of what informs how the design is going to work on you. And I think that the effectiveness, the political and ideological effectiveness of these games is middling to in shambles at best. The ability that it has to be the runway for this fucking sequence is a 10 out of 10, and that is my rating also. I am also at a 10 out of 10.
How the Shagohod had to have a 3 to 5 mile runway.
Yeah.
So did Metal Gear.
Yeah. We're gonna take a break and we're gonna play a game.
Otacon, light of my life. What do you need?
Snake, Psycho Mantis is breaking into OSG Studios.
What? OSG Studios?
He can't be allowed to reach OSG's listenership. He has mind control powers.
There you are, Snake's charmingly pathetic male wife. I shall now take control of you. Otacon, you have to resist.
It's no use, Snake. He's playing his mind control music.
Now, OSG listener, I will speak directly into your mind with my psychic powers. Place your cellular phone on the ground and I will manipulate it. So, you listen to friends at the table.
Oh no, he's using his mind powers to navigate to Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts? I will now use your phone to leave a 5-star review on the OSG landing page.
Oh no, that's disingenuous but beneficial.
I will also use your touch keyboard to write a review. That way your podcast will be exposed to more people, and they will have a chance to correct your verbal foibles on the internet.
No!
Tell your friends and family to listen to OSG and give them 5 stars, or you may hear that music on the breeze.
Snake, are you okay? Snake?
Welcome back. We're back. Welcome to it. We're going to play a game. This game is called GWTV Live. At the beginning of starting a new game of this, there's a bunch of weird like live action commercials that do a couple things. They illustrate like what media looks like in the war economy, and also they just reference a bunch of Metal Gear shit. They're really weird. Again, $60 million human dollars, but whatever.
Who is giving Hideo Kojima this money?
I know.
So, for this game, I will describe the events of a commercial or television show to you. This is completely fabricated. I've made all these up, just to be clear. For a point, you will tell me what event, concept, or person in the heretofore experienced Metal Gear Solid this commercial is in a direct reference to. Since this is an open answer question, stealing is available and contestants may pass, but they'll be buried in debt. They will have to pay probably 1 million Drebin points back to the system if they if they pass.
We are converting the entire economy of OSG from GEVO coins to Drebin points, right?
Yeah.
It's the war economy now.
So I'm going to give just in a quick example round, which is a nerdy man wearing glasses advertises Pisswick Moist Away boxer briefs for your terrified civilian or combatant during a long shift. The answer to this would be all the pissing. Just all the pissing.
Oh, Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? It's going to be like
So it's more identifying the general reference.
Yeah, but also I put some of these in here that are really hard to trick you, so we'll see.
Okay. So, but we're trying to find the thing that it's referencing from the series.
Yes.
Not what game it's from.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It'll be pretty obvious what game. The first question goes to Alice. This traveling stage show features a rowdy bunch of extremely self-serious themed miscreants with one-dimensional personalities and degrees from Juilliard they've made sure pop up when you pick at them through your solid eye.
The Cobra? No, wait. It wouldn't be Cobra because it's solid eye. The bosses? Just bosses in general in the series?
I'm going to give it to you because you did say Cobra. It was the Cobra unit. The solid eye was there to trip you up. I was specifically referencing the fact that Nico called them all theater majors.
Oh, I was like, if it's any boss that has one note, I know who it is. Okay.
Okay.
Got it. I'm dialed in.
You're dialed in. The second question, of course, goes to Nico. A bright and colorful series of commercials led by an energetic Chihuahua advertises War Bond foot powder for specialists with hardy footwear. The Chihuahua, in an awkward repeated bit, attempts to advertise a signature perfume. I think.
Is this the monkey?
Nope. Alice, did you want to try and steal this one?
Okay.
Is it the perfume?
Can you say more?
There is the perfume that one of the snake guys wears from 3 that they can... No, Eva's perfume. It's Eva's perfume, right?
No, unfortunately, that is incorrect. The answer is Fat Man, who needs War Bond foot powder for his roller skates and uses perfume on his bombs.
That's right.
There's too many scents in this series. All right, that's a good one. That's a good one. I was like, yeah, I know cologne. I know which one this is.
I got thrown off by the animal mascot.
Yeah.
He is kind of
there are things that I've put in here just to confuse, and also because I thought they would be funny things to say into a microphone, and I was right. So anyway, question 3 goes to Alice. Popular PSAs in the age of the SOP focus on how to react if a nameless conflict rolls through your town, and how to get past PMC incursion camps with ease. The mascot is a cartoon bulldozer wearing a red beret who constantly effusing little pink hearts.
Specifically, I think it's one of the radio guys who you call. I feel like it's a reference to I'm gonna say Zero. No, he didn't wear a red beret.
That is incorrect. Nico, did you have an idea here?
Is this a reference to the fact that you can give rations and help the insurgents in the game and get through?
That is correct.
Oh, hey, a point.
A
rarely sought after point.
I remembered the bulldozer, which is maybe my favorite piece of insurgent equipment.
Yeah.
I feel really sad that they felt like they had to do Shadow Moses, and so the whole thing with the insurgencies you help just falls out.
Yeah, I think that's maybe the transaction it
would have been funny if there had been like an Alaskan insurgent group, like you had to fight a militia.
Well, they mentioned how the Fox Archipelago is being evacuated. Maybe it could have been like people who didn't want to leave or something.
Yeah. Climate refugees.
Yeah. Dark. Okay, Nico, question 4. An acclaimed reality show called Real Housewives of Government Shills is about the lives of 7 housewives married to United States officials for clout and privilege.
This a reference to the fact that Rose married Campbell?
Yes.
I still... Ryden, you gotta get out of there.
Ryden, please leave.
Ryden, please. You know, all of the TikTok shit about how to tell if your partner's a narcissist, how to tell if your partner's manipulative, and it's all just stupid shit. It's also making people paranoid about human behaviors.
Yeah, exactly. It's all these weird,
Ryden is experiencing it.
Ryden needs those TikToks.
Yeah, Ryden is the only person on Earth who needs those TikToks.
All right, Alice. Question 5.
Is this a reference to the Patriots? Oh.
Yes, technically. No, I'm just kidding. A pheromone spray advertised by the self-proclaimed First Lady CEO of unzipping a jumpsuit down to your clit.
Eva.
Sorry, I think I'll say you're kind of close, but
can I try to steal?
Yeah, I'll let the steal happen.
Is it Sniper Wolf?
It is Sniper Wolf.
Yay! She was the first. Never forget the first to do it. Our Kurdish queen.
Yeah.
MGS3 happened in the 60s.
Yeah,
Are we going chronological or game release order?
Hey, whichever is trickier for getting. I wanted to make this one hard for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay, this one. I feel like we need hard games like this. This is good.
Yeah.
We each get half a point.
Okay.
No.
I'm not keeping track of that, but
we don't do that. This is the war economy. I'm in so deep to Drebin, I'm fucked.
All right, Nico.
Yes.
This home ec review show has a guest on today talking about a powerful deodorizing spandex material. She does a Let's Get Physical style dance routine wearing the silver outfit, at the end of which she parades a cigarette and a wine bottle around.
What the fuck? Meryl? And being attracted to Johnny, which is objectively an L?
No. Alice, do you want to try to steal?
I got nothing.
Okay, I'm trying to think of any time I've seen a character in the main MGS games walk around with a bottle of wine and a cigarette, and all I can think about is the Russian scientist from 3 and his bottle of liquor. I know it's not that, so I'm just giving a throw-out answer.
The specific answer is Drebin's monkey's underwear, which is a silver spandex-like material.
Oh God, that's right.
But
you made it the monkey!
I would have accepted Drebin's monkey because Drebin's monkey is actually the one that parades around with a wine bottle and a cigarette. So,
he sure does.
I hated that fucking thing. All right. Sorry, I said that really resided in me.
All right, Alice.
Yes.
Question 7. Primetime drama doesn't get any better than this. Follow the story of Detective Mulberry and his sidekick Scar Cheeks as they prowl around the cyberpunk city of South Asia, using their shocking special powers to kick criminal ass.
It's Raiden.
Close.
Right?
Sure, you're close. Is that your final answer? Actually, I guess I should lock that in because you said it.
Yeah, I'm just saying Raiden in sentence.
That is half correct. Nico, would you like a chance to steal for the other point? This one is worth 2 points.
Is this specifically Raiden and Pliskin doing all of their shit on Big Shell?
No, unfortunately, the answer is Volgin and Raiden.
Oh.
Yeah. Volgin is the sidekick Scar Cheeks because he has scars. And Detective Mulberry is a reference to the Kuwabara chant. Anyway.
The Mulberry.
So Alice, you got 1 point out of that though. So there's that at least.
Yes!
All right. Final-ish question. Nico.
Ish?
Yeah.
Don't ask.
This illustrious manufacturer advertises the best hydrophobic paper stock money can buy. No matter what distracting thing you might be printing, it's certain not to get sticky.
Is this a reference to the photos you could take in Metal Gear Solid 2?
No. Alice, did you have an idea here?
Octo camo?
No, I'm sorry. The answer we're looking for is porn mags. Porn mags.
Oh, okay. General idea of porn
laugh at
mags.
that. I can't give you that. But that tickled me in a way that went deep into my soul.
All right. We have another thing that we do here. Alice, can you give me a read on what this effusive extra thing might be called?
It would be called a bonus round.
I have a question for both of you. You will both attempt to answer, and the person who gets closest is correct and wins. What would make it interesting? 3 points.
Ooh.
According to me, the arbiter of truth and gay sex in the universe, how many times does gay sex happen in Metal Gear Solid 4?
Oh shit. Okay.
I'll give you some time.
Oh, is this open note?
This is sure, yeah.
Alice, 4 times.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 5.
Nico wins this one and wins the game with a whopping 7 points. Sorry, 6 points.
Please name the instances of gay sex.
Yeah, sure.
So I can
I want to know which one I
Yeah, no,
missed.
totally. So Raiden and Vamp fighting is 2 of them.
Yep.
Otacon lighting Snake's cigarette at the end after nobody else will is another one.
Okay.
Otacon and Snake, Ocelot and Snake injecting each other with suppressants is another one.
Yep.
Snake putting Raiden's sword in his mouth is another one.
Oh, yeah.
Otacon literally proposing to Snake in the post-credit scene is another one. That time Solid Snake did a sleeper hold on one of Big Mama's insurrection boys with just his thigh and his calf muscle is another one. And then Snake injecting vamps with suppressants is the 8th.
Okay. I wanna pitch one to add to the list. Okay. When they're fighting by the canal and Ocelot stabs Snake with the knife.
Oh, and then electrocutes him with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's insertion and everything. So 9. Nico still gets closer, but yeah.
Price is Right rules.
Price is Right rules.
Price is Right rules on gay sex. That's what we bring here at OSG Pod.
We're getting a codec call.
Oh, one of our 2 people that we get calls from?
Yeah, one of our 2 people that we get calls from. Actually, this is a secret third person.
This is a third one. We can't call back to the same number, though, which is weird that the game mechanically won't let you do that, but continue. Yeah.
I'm about to enter college, and I've been going to therapy for the first time. A few weeks ago, my therapist and I came to the perhaps obvious, but for me buried in a weird childhood revelation, that my mom and dad are incredibly fucked up. You see, my mom told my dad that she'd had a miscarriage and left him in a permanent state of derealization, and my dad is the perpetrator of a really characterologically inexplicable series of decisions that I really don't understand, even when he sits down and explains it to me. Also, I guess he killed a bar senator at one point. I don't really know. My question is, how do I even prepare to confront my parents with the fact that I had a politically convenient fake stepdad for the first 6 years of my life, and that they tried to sweep it under the rug with a weird, bittersweet hospital scene? Any advice is appreciated. I currently do not have access to a Mac. From LJ. Alice, do you have any advice for this young man?
Don't trust anyone if they're lying to you. Don't answer the codec. You need to get out of there. You need to go to South Asia. You need to save a net running girl. You need to start a family. It's important. But also trust no one. Everyone is a triple double agent who is going to turn on you. No matter what, the only thing you can trust is your Hanzo Steel. What about you, Nico?
I think that you should perhaps open a restaurant. And I say this because I think the only thing that can break the cycle of violence is if someone actually learns how to cook and force this family. And I think if you start like a little restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And you are like, it's my grand opening. I'm making my family come. It's going to be an awkward family occasion. I'm inviting my terrifying mom and her estranged fake ex-husband. Oh, hopefully he's dead by then, but anyway. And I'm also inviting my dad and his extremely large extended found family. I feel like you could create what all Metal Gear fans secretly wanted, which is just the most awkward dinner in the history of the world. And I think in that way, you would win. So yeah, start a restaurant. I would suggest like a noodle bar.
What would you call it?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I'm fucked enough in the head to name anything in a Hideo Kojima franchise.
Yeah?
Arsenal Soba. Anyway, my advice, here's the thing. I think you need to really... Most of this is at the feet of one person in this situation. And I, like a good therapist, I'm not going to just tell you. I'm going to let you lead your own conclusion.
Wait. I'm so sorry.
What?
Matzo Gear.
Matzo Gear.
Make a Jewish restaurant.
Matzo Gear. Oh.
I am so sorry for interrupting you. That just hit me like lightning, rain transmuted.
It's all kosher.
It's a kosher restaurant.
A kosher Metal Gear restaurant. You know what Metal Gear is missing is Judaism. We should give Hideo Kojima Judaism to play with.
Yeah, he's already crushed Christianity. Just nailed it, knocked it out of the park. Exactly. Let's go ahead and give him Judaism next. When he gets to Islam, we might have some problems because he's gonna want to depict Muhammad. But anyway,
okay, kid. I really think that this lays at the foot of one person, and you really need to kind of investigate with your therapist who that is, and then maybe when you do. Cut off all contact with them, and also get your dad out of there. Get out of there and go. Both of you need to leave. She does not deserve to have a family.
Also, just a little note, if a woman shows up and says, this is your kid, just go. Just
run.
Leave.
Just start running. Works for Big Boss, works for Raiden.
If a woman who wasn't there for you after the most traumatic experience of anyone's life ever, and shows up with a kid that looks like a little puddin' boy and says, hey, I know I haven't been checking in with you while you've been going through it, and you just got your arms surgically reattached, but what about that kid I told you was dead? I don't know. Just seems a little like, don't believe women in that moment.
Also, LJ, look down. If you are still wearing an outfit that might be worn by a little pudding boy, I mean, maybe start there.
Oh, no little pudding boy outfits.
The one thing they'll tell you in therapy is that, one of the only things you can control in this world are your actions. So change your fit.
Okay, guys, do you have any final thoughts on this media?
I do. And it's that I think it's time to wipe this meme from the face of the earth.
I just have to share with you my dream, my vision. If one of those beauties had opened the cockpit and she had just been a yoked butch, battle-scarred, little silver, yeah.
So you're admitting that it could work for you.
We gotta milf him and we gotta butch him. Steps to creating a good female protagonist by Nico M. Eades, age 30.
Thanks for listening, guys.
pilots, remember you can reach out for advice from the team at our email, questions@osgpod.com. And non-pilots can send general questions or feedback to the same address. Remember, we are also taking submissions for an eventual run around and talk about random Mechs episode.
Lightning round, mech rating.
You can also catch up with us on social media. Links are in the description for updates and more. Make sure to check back in 2 weeks when we will be discussing Heaven Will Be Mine. Hell yeah. Goodbye. I love you.
Brother! I love you!
Goodbye, I love you.